All right, here we go. Today we have someone with whom I go back for 20 years. Kyambo Joshua, a.k.a. Hip Hop, legendary A&R executive and artist manager, best known for his foundational role at Roc-A-Fella Records and co-founding the influential management production company Hip Hop since 1978. He played a major part in shaping the sound of Roc-A-Fella, helped launch Kanye's career as a solo artist, and worked with Jay-Z, Dipset, Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, and others. Hip Hop. Welcome to VladTV.
What's going on, Vlad? Finally here, man.
Man, we go back. It's actually more than 20 years.
Yeah, it's more than 20 for sure.
Hey, you remember mixtape DJ Vlad?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
rap
actually how we
phenomenon, man. That's one of the best mixtapes ever, man.
Thank you, man.
Yes,
I used to go by the Roc-A-Fella offices, get my little vinyl, make my connections.
Back in the days, But I think we first really met through QD3.
Right.
Not too far down the street.
You're right. That's what actually got me into doing videos.
Yeah, yep.
This is like a full circle kind of moment.
I remember seeing him like...
Wait, did you introduce me to QD3?
I think so,
I think you did.
Yeah, I did, because he wanted to do some like a mixtape for Beef.
Right.
And I was like, yo, you should get my man Vlad. He did the rap phenomenon thing.
Shit.
So we got together and we was, in the spot where he had like the editing room, the studio and stuff.
In LA.
Yeah, it was on Ventura, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Ventura Boulevard in the Valley.
Yep.
Right. And sitting down with him, he was explaining how he did documentaries.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this kind of sounds like how I put together my mixtapes. I should try this.
Yeah.
And I picked up a camera.
Uh-huh.
I think Game was around during that time. I did my first DVD with Game, and then that's how I got into the whole
first
video.
DVDs with Game?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a mixtape DVD called The Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
Show a little picture of it.
Yeah, QD3 was ahead of the time, man.
He was, man.
I remember seeing like the Pac footage and seeing like stuff being at his crib and he putting it together and things. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Wow. This is a full circle moment right here.
Yes,
sir. If it wasn't for that connection, I may not have gotten into video.
Wow.
Seriously, because when he explained it, how he puts together documentaries, I'm like, I think I could do something kind of like that. I think based on my connections, and I had some old beat up, VHS camera, and I said, "Fuck it, let me try it." Right. And then that's set me off on a path that I'm still on.
Yep.
Over 20 years later.
Haven't touched vinyl since, right?
Haven't touched vinyl since, right? Well, let's start at the very beginning. So, born and raised in Harlem, New York.
Yes, sir.
Your older brother is Kareem Biggs Burke.
Yep.
Okay. Now, you guys have different last names.
Yeah.
So different fathers?
Same father.
Same father, different mothers.
Yep.
Okay. Did you guys grow up together or separately?
We grew up in the same area, but not in the same household.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you guys close?
Yeah, for sure. We became close. Like I didn't know him when I was very young, and probably I knew I had brothers, but I didn't really, I might have seen them a couple times here and there. But by the time I got to like junior high school, around that time, I started to really see him in the neighborhood and hang out with him and my other brother Bob and stuff. So those all kind of came through.
What was the age difference between you two?
I believe it's 4 or 5 years. Because my first year in high school, we like a class, like he's graduated when I entered high school. So that's like 4 to 5 years.
Okay. So your brother started hustling at one point, allegedly.
Yeah, all of my brothers was out there doing what they was doing. Yeah.
Okay. Did you follow?
When I met him, he was playing basketball when I first met him and stuff. I used to go to his games and stuff, and he'll tell me, come to the locker room. I go to the locker room. He'll give me $20 and tell me, take a cab home. You know what I mean? So, but by the time I graduated high school, Roc-A-Fella was starting.
Okay.
So I never really did anything.
So you never got in the streets at all? Nothing?
Never. Nope.
Okay. So Dame Dash and Biggs and Jay all knew each other?
Yes. Dame and my older brother, rest in peace, Bob, was close friends. They was in a crew together, the Best Out. Biggs was a part of that crew as well, but he was younger. And Dame introduced Biggs to Jay on the street side. and that kind of started their relationship.
Okay. So they have Jay as an artist and they're trying to get a deal, but nobody wants to give Jay-Z a deal.
Yeah, because I remember clear as day, Biggs came to one of my games. And, you know, we talked about Jay before. I remember the first time I asked him if he heard In My Lifetime. He was like, yeah, that's my boy. And I was like, oh, wow, you know him? And he was like, yeah, he's cool with Dame. And you know, we kind of just, not left it there, but we were just talking about music. And then another day, he mentioned that I'm going to start a label. We starting a label, me, Dame, and Jay, starting a label. Because I met Dame separately. I didn't meet Dame through Biggs. Like, I met Dame through Cameron.
Okay.
Yeah, I met Dame through Cameron. Just being, I grew up with Cameron, more or less, than that's my age. That's like who I played against in high school. That's who I knew since I was like 9 years old or something like that. So I knew once he got into rapping, I started to hang around him more because I was into hip hop. And then, you know, we'd go to Dame house every now and then. And then I eventually told Dame, you know, my brother. And he's like, and then that's how we kind of connected. Because I told him my brother was Biggs and Bob, basically. And he was like, oh, for real? And then, because when Cam brought me to Dame house, he brought me there because I used to always have music. I always had new stuff. And I remember the first time he brought me there, he was like, yo, my boy got Get Money Remix. You never heard that before. And I played it for Dame, and he called Jay on the phone. He was like, yo, you heard this? And Jay was like, yeah, Clark played it for me. And, you know, but I was like that guy who taped off the radio, taped Stretch Armstrong. So I always had new music, and I was just like really, really into hip hop at that early age and stuff.
Okay, so when they formed Roc-A-Fella, you were like 16?
Yeah. Yep.
So they formed Roc-A-Fella. I think I Can't Get With That came out around that time.
Yeah, I Can't Get With That. That came out around that time for sure.
Right.
Yep.
That was like the early single. Didn't really catch on.
It didn't catch on, yeah. It was actually on the B-side of In My Lifetime, the first one.
Right. Which was a cool New York street record, but once again, it didn't really catch on.
It didn't catch on, no. Mm-mm.
Okay. So they decided to start Roc-A-Fella Records with the three of them as partners.
Yeah.
Jay, Dame, and Biggs.
Yeah.
And they get a deal with Priority for distribution?
Yep. At first it was Payday. They released the single through Payday, In My Lifetime. And then by that time, that didn't like work out. They was paying for their own videos. And it was I think it was a single deal. So I remember it was a guy named Ray Ray who was working the record, but he had connections with Freeze Records. Freeze Records had a deal with Priority. So they exercised the deal to do Roc-A-Fella Records through Freeze, through Priority. Uh-huh. So it kind of went through there. And Freeze was actually the old Sleeping Bag Records and Fresh Records.
Right.
So they was always close with Brian Turner, like those guys was a part of like a indie label kind of like clique. So Will Sokoloff was his name. So Will Sokoloff basically took on Reasonable Doubt, and he wasn't really doing albums no more. He was like strictly into vinyl. Like to this day, he still presses up vinyl. Like he was like, he kind of went to the single route. He sold Sleeping Bags to Def Jam. That's how Def Jam ended up getting EPMD and Nice and Smooth, was because they bought his label, and then he turned it into Freeze and just started doing more house records and singles and stuff like that. And Ray Ray knew him, so he kind of connected that. And then it kind of went from there, where it was like, okay, now we with Priority, but we're through Freeze, but they was just more of the connection. They wasn't actually involved in anything, any decisions or anything like that. We just went straight to Priority. I remember coming out here in '96 and going to Priority when they was in the CNN building
Okay, so once the deal with Priority is established, then Jay starts working on his first album, Reasonable Doubt.
He was always working on it, to be honest. Like, before the deal with Priority, I remember Biggs playing me songs. Playing me like he would, one day he had Jay car and he would just play me songs, or I go to Dame house and it'd be tapes just down there of just Jay stuff, and I would just be listening to it. Or if I see Dame, I'd be like, yo, can I hear some new Jay? And he'd be like, yo, where you going? I tell him where I'm going. He said, get in the car. And he'd start playing it. He'll play Feeling It, Cam, Coming of Age, Politics, you know, Politics. The only new songs, I believe, after they got the deal was, I want to say, Ain't No, Can I Live, Brooklyn Finest. Mm-hmm. Those was like the later records. Bring It On, the Premier records. Those were some of the later records. The Ski and the Clark Kent records was more or less older records that he had. Like, I remember him switching the years of the record, like from 95 to 96. Like 95 and forever, 96 and forever. You know what I mean? Like, I remember the songs actually getting updated and stuff like that, because out of the batch of records, he had the ones that he knew he was keeping. You know, like the Feeling It and Politics and those type of records was records that he was going to put on his first album when they eventually did it. So once the Priority thing came, because they didn't really get no money from them, it didn't really change anything. They were still taking care of stuff themselves. So it was just still, it wasn't like anything went into like high gear. But I guess after the single Dead Presidents and Ain't No, that's when things kicked into, I feel, high gear. They had the Office and everything, and that's when, that's kind of like when I officially started. Like, I before then, it was just out of Dame house, his apartment, and they're releasing records, doing shows. But by the time, I remember, like, I was still in school and Biggs gave me an address to come to after school. And I went there, and it was 17 John Street. And it wasn't, I don't believe it was no furniture in there, but it was like 12 guys in one office. Like Tata, B.I.G, Jay, Dame, Biggs, and a couple guys from Uptown, the guy Ray Ray I mentioned, my boy Garnett, rest in peace, he was in there. And the meeting was to pick a single. And it was Politics, Dead Presidents, and another record. And they played the 3 records, and people was just basically voting. Like, which one should we go with? And I remember Ray Ray was like the radio guy. He was the promotions. He was working for like an indie promoter. I think he was working for Penalty at the time. And he was like, yo, let's go with the one with the Nas sample. That'll work at radio. You know what I mean? That would work, you know, because he wasn't thinking of radio on the sense of, and nationally, we was thinking of locally, like college radio and stuff like that. Coincidentally, that's what I started it. I started college radio. That's when I first came in. I worked with Ray Ray, and I was basically calling colleges, sending out records, working Dead Presidents / Ain't No at college radio.
Okay, so once the deal came together and then the other records came, so the Ain't No record, that's from the Nutty Professor soundtrack.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal.
Yeah,
to be on a major, you know, Eddie Murphy movie soundtrack. Mm-hmm. And there's a music video
to
go along
video.
with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Foxy Brown is on it. Was she like 15 or 16 at the time?
Nah, I think she was older because she was probably like 17, 18, because me and her are like same age.
Okay, got it. Mm-hmm. And that was Jay's first hit record.
Yeah.
The Ain't No record.
Yeah, the Ain't No record was the first one that definitely took off.
Okay.
Which was coincidence because it was on the B-side.
Right.
And it was
Dead
like,
Presidents was on the A-side.
Dead Presidents was on the A-side, it was on the B-side. And I remember working at that college radio and it took it #1. And it was because it had 2 songs on it. It was like a Dead Presidents / Ain't No.
Well, in the music video for Dead Presidents, Biggie was in the music video.
Yeah, he was in the video for both of them.
Oh, both of them.
He was in the video for Ain't No and Dead Presidents.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but he was also in the video for Dead Presidents.
Yeah.
AZ was in it
AZ
also.
was in it and Smooth the Hustler, yeah.
Smooth the Hustler, oh shit. That's the name I haven't heard in a while. Now, there was a rumor that Nas was supposed to come to a recording session for the song Bring It On, but didn't show up.
That's somewhat true. AZ was supposed to come and didn't show up. Nas never really gave a date. He never confirmed anything. Like, they was supposed to be a record with Nas, Jay, and AZ over a premiere beat.
Aha.
And Nas, we was trying to track it down, but it didn't happen. And then, but AZ was supposed to come, I remember, because that's when I kind of started working, and it was like, and I remember him just saying, I'll wait for my furniture. I'll wait for my furniture. And he kept, you know what I mean? He just never came to that day. And then I remember Jay just being like, yo, I'm just going to do it with Jazz and Sauce. I ain't going to be waiting.
Okay.
So it wasn't technically Bring It On. It was like whatever record they would have done.
Okay.
But it was that premiere record turned into Bring It On.
I mean, was that the start of the beef?
I think it was the start of, I think it wasn't the start of the friendship. You know what I mean?
Okay.
To where I don't know if it really created a beef, but I know it didn't create like a bond where it was like, okay,
yeah,
you know, because I think
this dude. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, it kind of
like I'm chasing after this guy to do something he said he would do, and he's not doing it, so that creates a certain level of.
But when they seen each other after that, it was still cool. It wasn't like a thing. Like I remember them, Jay going to AZ video and being in the video and stuff, and you know, and them seeing each other at places, and it wasn't like a actual beef, really. The beef just started when Jay just threw his name out there.
Well, I mean, Nas' second album, it was written, he said something like, Lex with TV sets the minimum.
Yeah.
And later on he said, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a shot at Jay-Z, but it was kind of a mention of Jay-Z, because Jay-Z would talk about Lex, you know, the TV sets. And so kind of like, there's a little bit of, kind of
some
sneak
jabs.
this in a little bit, some jabs and so forth. The Biggie record for Brooklyn's Finest, were you there when they recorded it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my first time in the studio.
Okay.
Yep.
And from what I understand, like, since neither one of them write down anything, they're just sort of walking around the room mumbling to themselves?
Yeah, they was just sitting next to each other at the board, from what I remember. Because I was there before anybody. Like, I was there before Jay. I was there when Biggie got there. And called Jay like, yo, Jay, hurry up, man, Biggie's here. He's like, all right, cool, just make sure he good. Tell him I'm on my way, and da-da-da. So I kind of handled the session on that front. And then, because at that point, I wasn't an A&R. I was still doing radio, but I knew that Biggie was going to do the session, so I just asked Jay, could I come? And he was like, yeah, come. It's going to be at 12 o'clock or whatever. So I went to D&D. I'm there before anybody because I'm excited to be there. So everybody else is like taking their time. So by the time, it was taking a minute because Clark had to really lay the beat. And so they doing that, and they was just sitting right next to each other at the board, and the pad was in the middle. The pad was just like, because you know, usually studios might just have a pad there just so for people, when they write, okay, here's a pad just sitting there. And then I think he might have gave it to him, he might have gave it to him. The next thing you know, they was just there mumbling, basically. But Jay kind of had a lot of what he wanted to do, because that was a song, some of it, some of his verses was like from a song that he was gonna do.
Okay.
Like I heard him spit those rhymes for No More, it was called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And
that line is actually No More Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah.
And he was just kind of going off. And I remember one day I was at Dame House and Jay was on the phone, he put it on the speaker and Jay was just rhyming and he was like, yo, listen to this. And so he kind of, Jay laid the whole song and left it open for Biggie to put his parts in. So that first day, Biggie didn't lay no vocals. Jay only laid vocals and left 8 bars for Biggie, and Biggie took the tape, and then he wrote his verses on his own in no spaces. That's why it seemed so seamless.
was Biggie kind of dissing Jay? Like, there was like lines in there that almost sound like he was kind of taking shots at Jay. Like, you know, not so much all out, but it's like competitive. Like, okay,
I
like
don't think
who's
so.
nicer on this?
I didn't really get that. I didn't feel like that was the case because they was cool. They was like cool. I remember literally after that session, we went to the Beacon Theater to go see Bernie Mac. Like literally everybody left the session and Big was like, yo, Bernie Mac at the Beacon Theater, let's go get some tickets. And we just like, the session was over, Jay gave him a tape. We went to the comedy show. And so, that, you know what I mean? And they was always together. They was always like, anything Biggie want, even when they did the Ain't No video in Miami, we had a club, Biggie like, yo, he told me go to the DJ, see if they had impeached the president. He's like, see if they got impeached the president, we'll get on. And they ain't have it. He was like, oh man, you know what I mean? But they was real cool.
I mean, people don't realize today how big of a deal it was for Biggie to do a song with Jay-Z, because Biggie was a superstar at this point.
Superstar.
It's like Drake doing a song with a new artist.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It was like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He didn't have to do that.
Nah, not at all.
He had his own crew. He had the Junior Mafia. And he had Lil Kim.
Yep.
You know, he had his own thing going. So the fact that he did that for Jay meant that he really saw the vision of what Jay was doing.
Yeah. No, he was a big fan of Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember him saying, like, you know, even during that Dead President's video, it was like a quote where he was like, yo, it's the best one that did it and got away with it and stuff. You know, he would say stuff like that. And then even when I kind of became an A&R was when we ended up doing Streets is Watching. But when we did Streets is Watching, we were still doing Feeling It, clean version. So we was going to the studio to do Feeling It, and Jay was like, yo, tell Ski to bring the Streets is Watching beat so I could, really lay it in the studio. And I go to see Premier in his room, and nobody's in the room but Biggie by himself. So he goes back there basically because we was in there doing Brooklyn Finest not too long ago. So he's like, yeah, I have to come back. And he's hurt. His leg is messed up. So he's like by himself because he's waiting for C's to pull up to come back, with the car so he could go downstairs. And I tells him that Jay's in the other room. We just laid this new song. And he was like, and I remember he was like, yo, bring it in here. And I was like, nah, it's on the reel. We can't really, you know what I'm saying? You got to go over there. And I remember him telling me that, yo, Jay the only rapper that I'll hop on one leg to go hear a rhyme. He basically had to limp into the other room because he was really, I guess his leg was really hurting him and stuff. So he was like, yo, I'll hop on one leg to hear Jay-Z rhyme. So what Therese is Watching was like the last record he heard from Jay. Because after that, he passed away like not too long after that. He was doing the Tracy Lee record, to Put Your Hands High.
Oh, okay.
That's what Biggie was recording that day.
Well, Reasonable Doubt comes out, and it's a big record.
Yeah.
Now Jay-Z is in the game. Did you always know that Jay-Z was going to be as big as he got?
Yeah, but when I remember when Reasonable Doubt, because I had to master it. By the time the album was done, that's where my job kind of came in. Like, yo, go get the tapes, go compile everything, go to mastering and get a sequence from Jay, put it in order the way he wanted. So I remember doing that, and then I remember getting the master and like really hearing it and being like really, really blown away. Like, that I wish everybody could hear it, because at that time nobody heard it, like but me, like in the world. Like Jay didn't even hear it yet. So I'm just hearing the whole thing compiled to approve it, and I'm sorry, I haven't even graduated yet. I remember listening to it like during graduation rehearsal, like listening to it on my headphones. Like,
that's crazy.
Because they was like, we just rehearsing, we just walking. So they're like, hey, you can listen to your headphones or whatever. So I'm just listening to it, making sure there's no mistakes or nothing like that. I'm listening to it for approval purposes. And I had like really the only copy at that time. So, and I just felt like that. I wish I could just share this with everybody. But at the earliest stage, when I was like going to Dame House and listening to it, it would be songs that I would hear that me knowing the real side of it and then hearing that part of it, I felt that was authentic. I feel it was something there that wasn't there with on a level where Nas and Biggie was, as far as him rapping about his life for real. I thought that was a little more authentic in the way it was so lyrically good as well. Because I knew who he was. I remembered him from back in the days and from the Kane record and stuff like that. So I was familiar with him as a good rapper. But once the good rapper got with the experience and the storytelling and the realness of it, I felt like people would take to that. I thought that would be something that people would take to. But at the time, Big, and because it was like either way. It was like Nas had this thing where he was getting 5 mics but only going gold, and Biggie's selling like 2.5 million out the gate. Mm-hmm. So it's like, which way are we gonna go? Are we gonna be like this Illmatic thing, or are we gonna be this Ready to Die thing? But I felt like it could be right in the middle, where it could be, maybe not a Juicy or them type of records, but, not where Illmatic don't even have a single technically, like a real, a single, like where it, like with big hooks and girls and, you know what I mean? It didn't have like a party record on there. It was just all hip hop. So I knew it wasn't going to be that. So I kind of looked at it somewhere in the middle of the two, but I didn't really know where that land at, So I didn't know like, okay, is that going to be him being a street guy or whatever? And also I remember him not wanting to do a lot of albums. I remember him saying like, yo, I'm only going to do 1 album and stuff. I remember him saying that because he felt like the label was going to be the thing.
Yeah.
So he was like, I just want to set the label off.
Yeah. And he was a little older at the time. It's not like he was a 19-year-old rapper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. So, and then he didn't really see himself as that. That's why I think he carried himself the way he carried himself all the way through, is because he didn't really see himself as a rapper, like going through the whole ciphers and all those things like that. It was more like somebody would have to like really get him to come from Jersey or wherever he was. And then when he's in town, he'd do a few songs with Clark. Or he'd go uptown and battle X or battle Big Al. Or, you know what I mean? Like when he's in town, people will, like Dame would be like, yo, come up here. Or, he would be the one that's kind of like, I ain't gonna say fighting for him, but basically promoting him. Like, hey, this is the guy.
Well, the album comes out. Mm-hmm. And right around that time, Tupac gets out of prison.
Yes.
And he drops Hit 'Em Up. And there was a bunch of other diss songs that floated around. Jay-Z got hit with a few strays. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the main target. Biggie was.
Yeah, Machiavelli. It kind of... Jay didn't really get hit with no Tupac strays when Pac was actually living.
Oh, those songs came out later?
Yeah, because Machiavelli is when he says the Jay-Z thing.
Okay.
Jay-Z died. You know what I mean? When he said that, but we got a leak of it before he died. So I remember when we came here, we was coming to LA for the first time, or at least for my first time, and we had a leak of maybe the intro of thing where it's like Jay-Z, Hawaiian Sophie fame, So we heard that, and people was telling him that Pac was dissing him. And then he wrote a rhyme about it. And just like he did at the Roots Picnic, he performed that rhyme at the Apollo. And he did a rhyme at the Apollo dissing Tupac. And
do you remember what the rhyme was?
Yeah.
Can you say it?
I can't remember the whole thing. I just remember parts of it. I just remember him saying he rocked from the Dre Day to the Suge Knight and self-made millionaire, what you talking about? You'll still be in jail if he ain't bail you out. And, he was just like kind of getting at those type of things. And so you ain't Bishop, you bitched up. He said, so it was just like lines I could remember like that. And I remember it was like another one of my friends who was there. And he always would remember stuff. And we'd be trying to piece it together to kind of remember it because I don't think it was like recorded or nothing. And it was at a show with Biggie, actually. It was Jay and Junior Mafia, to be exact. And Biggie came on stage and performed with Junior Mafia. Okay. And it was just an regular Apollo show, like not like a amateur night, but Jay, Junior Mafia, and I want to say Redman or something like that. And so he just got right on it. Like anytime something happened, he gets right into it. He goes right, address it right away. And that's why I wasn't surprised at this thing recently, because I'm like, that's what he do. He address it in his rhymes. You'll never see Jay at an interview discussing something like that. You know, it would just be, I said something about it. If you heard it, you heard it. If you didn't, you didn't. And then by the time it would have got to a song, Pac passed away.
Pac gets killed.
Yeah.
Right. A few months later.
Yeah. But they were supposed to like get together or talk. It wasn't like a thing. It was like, it was somebody had reached out. It was somebody in the streets where they was like, nah, that's my boy. Y'all should really, you know what I'm saying? Y'all should really, try to, what you call it. And, but yeah, I think when he came back, they were supposed to get up, but he never made it back.
Well, yeah, Tupac gets killed in 96, and then 1997, Biggie gets killed.
Yeah.
And that part of the story we don't exactly know, but most people say it's connected to the Tupac murder. So within a year, the two biggest artists from both coasts get gunned down.
Yeah.
And, Jay is kind of in the mix with all this. I mean, not in terms of the beef, but, he's close to Biggie. And like I say, he gets
got dissed on the
dissed by Tupac and, and so forth.
Yeah.
How did you guys take it when you're seeing all this violence happen?
That was interesting. We kind of felt like it was isolated, so to say, as far as the situation. Yeah, so when the beef came, or when they both passed, it kind of, it was definitely, it caught us by surprise, especially the Biggie thing. Like, I remember talking to Jay, like, that night, and he was like, I just got off the phone with him. It was like, it was like crazy. It caught us, by surprise, especially passing. Because with Pac thing, it was a longer thing. Like, okay, he got shot this day, and is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it? So it kind of died down by the time it actually happened. It wasn't as, it didn't catch people as storm as like Biggie thing did. I think the Biggie thing, and obviously us being closer to him as well. So that was like, that kind of, I feel, threw off the second album a bit. Just the direction that happening. A lot of people was really, a lot of people was still in the Biggie place, and we kind of started working with Puff a little bit, so it was like, maybe we kind of sped up a little too much as far as, the sound and the videos and some of the singles. It was like a lot more aggressive and ambitious as far as the direction goes. And I think it was kind of like filling that void, like, okay, let's go. Because at the time, Nas was kind of comfortable. He was like really, Nas, always cool, never really looking like he's trying too hard, what I mean? So it kind of felt like, okay, it's our turn in a way.
Okay, and that's when Jay-Z in My Lifetime Volume 1 dropped.
Yeah.
1997. And you're an A&R at this point at Roc-A-Fella.
Yeah.
And are you working on the Jay-Z albums in terms of picking the beats and so forth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because because after the Biggie thing, the session I did he kind of came to me and was like, yo, what you want to do? What kind of role you want to play? And I was like, I want to be a producer. So he was like, okay, cool, go hang out with Ski. Call Ski, tell Ski I said, to teach you how to make beats. So as I'm going to Ski house off and on, I hear some beats. Yeah, so after the Biggie session, Jay was sending me to Ski house to basically learn how to make beats. And at that point, I've heard the sample for Streets Is Watching. Ski played the record, but he kind of moved on. And I was like, yo, let's do this one. And he kind of just was like, I'm doing something else. So I called Jay on the phone on a sneak. Ski went out and I played him the sample. Jay was like, yo, that's crazy. I'm coming over there now. So Jay lived right down the street. Ski was on up the street from where Jay lived on State Street. Ski lived like 5 blocks away. So when Ski come back, I'm like, yo, Jay is on his way. He was like, word? He was like, yeah, he liked that beat. He was like, what beat? I was like, this record right here.
What he passed on.
Yeah, he was like, oh shit. So he went and hooked it up real fast and he was making it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking of Jay walking down the street, Ski making the beat, and Jay get there and he plays the beat. He's like, nah, that's not the beat Hip Hop Flavy. He was like, no, he just played you the record. He was like, all right, cool. Just to make the record, like the one I heard. So he kind of just looped it because I just played him the first couple bars. And that's the that's why it's kind of like just a straight loop or sample. So Ski did it kind of like how I played it for Jay. Jay did the song right then on the spot. And did like the first 2 verses. And then at that point he was like, yo, you're gonna pick my beats. So he told me like, yo, you're gonna pick my beats for me. And so from that point on, I was picking beats. But a lot of the songs was also made through going to a session with a producer on the spot. You know what I mean? But like the majority of the beats from that album, I picked a lot of them, just getting with, I kind of became cool with Derek Angeletti and Nasheem, like a lot of the bad boy producers, and just figuring it out and just like asking them for beats. And some of the beats I picked like in the same way, like with Derek Angeletti, where I'm from, he was just playing the record. And I was like, yo, what's that? And he was like, oh, no, I'm just playing. And I was like, play it again? And I put the phone on speaker and Jay heard it. And Jay was like, yo, what's that? What's that? I need that. I'm booking a session tonight. So literally it went from him playing the record, like while he was on the phone with me, to booking a session at Quad, making Where I'm From, and then the whole thing kind of just started going from there. And from there, so I would say half of the records I would pick, like directly, and then the other half would come from, let's go see Puff, let's go see Trackmasters, let's go see, and those records will come from, that's just what they made. That was that day. So.
Okay, so was it around that time that you met G. Roberson?
Yeah, G came real early. He was in college at first, and he was in Townsend in Baltimore. And he wanted to work with us, so basically they told him, yo, when you graduate, come intern. So when he eventually graduated, he came an intern, but he was a little older and like more serious. Like I was able to intern because I was kind of lucky. I had like money from like an accident, so I didn't really need no money. So I was just like happy to be there. It's my brother label. I love Jay. They ain't been looking out for me, so I was able to just work for free for the first year or so. And G came to work, but he always will do side jobs. I remember him going on tour with Camp Low and driving them. And then he left and went to Priority with Ray Ray for a little while. So he will come in and out, but through that point, that's when he kind of put the bug in my ear that we should manage producers. He was like, yo, we should manage producers. And I'm like, I didn't want to do it at all because I didn't want to conflict. I didn't want to have a conflict of interest. I didn't want to be like, yo, Jay, listen to my producer. Jay, listen to my producer, because I just got this opportunity to pick his beats. So I was like, I want to pick the right beats for the right reason, the best beats possible. And I don't want to be him saying, hey, why you always playing me his beats? I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So G was like, yo, I would shop the beats and we'll leave it there. So like soon as I became A&R, just to kind of go, because I don't want to miss this, like 96, after Reasonable Doubt came out, I kind of started being in the books as Roc-A-Fella A&R. And Wendy Day booked me to go to Chicago for a conference. And at that conference, I met No ID. And I also met Kanye. So I met Kanye and No ID in 96. Like Reasonable Doubt was just out. And I'm telling No ID, like, yo, I'm a big fan. I love your beats. And he was kind of like, I don't really got no beats for Jay. He was like, I'm in this world over here. Like,
that's funny.
Because
you would go on to do a whole album for Jay years later.
Album for Jay.
Ironic.
Yeah. So he was like, but I got a kid for you. I'm gonna have him come here tomorrow. So the next day, because John Monopoly was there that day as well. So he was like,
shout out to John Monopoly, good friend of mine.
Yeah. So he was like, yo, John, make sure to bring Kanye tomorrow. And the next day Kanye came and we just briefly met. It wasn't much. He changed information, sent me some beats. And, we would speak every now and then. But so going back to the G thing, we didn't really start with Kanye and Just. We started with another producer by the name of Mahogany, and who produced Super Ugly, I believe. So he did It's All Right, and there's another song called Celebration. So at that time, it was like he would be like one of the first producers that we had. We was trying to do this with Dane. We was basically like, yo, Dane, let's manage producers. And, I tried to manage Alchemist, tried to manage Buck Wild, and Dame didn't want to manage them. He just wanted the beats first. But they wanted like to be really managed. They wanted somebody to be there and help shop beats and stuff like that. So Dame was like, nah, we'll just get them on in. We take their beats first. So that didn't really work out. So then me and G kind of went on our own and created Rock the World, which was our first company. And Mahogany was the first guy. He left us real fast and went to Trackmasters. And then from there, we kind of didn't really have nobody for a minute. So by the time a year or two later, Kanye reached out to me and asked me to be his manager. He was like, yo, I think you should manage me and help me as an artist and as a producer because you're A&R. You can help me with my songs and you can help me shop my beats. So I was like, all right, hold on. Yo, G, I got this guy. He want me to manage him, but I don't know if I could do it because not that he's crazy, but it's gonna be a lot of work. So we gotta really get into it. You know what I mean? He was like, all right, cool, let's do it. So we had a company, but it was kind of like sleeping for a minute. We wasn't really managing nobody. And G came on, and now he's A&R with me now. So when he eventually came back, after he left and came back, I performed the A&R team of me, him, and Lenny S. So that was basically the three, because Dame was like, yo, make these guys your assistants. And I was like, okay, but I was like, we're going to be an A&R department because we were so small of a company. Like you take Bleak, you take, forgot what G did first. He might have did Clue first in the mill. So I was like, yeah, you take those, you take that. I got Jay and I had Beans. Those was my projects, and Lenny was Bleak and G was the mill. And we kind of did Clue together all as a collective. So from that point on, him and Lenny had their office. I had my office. And, I remember going into G and being like, okay, I got this kid, but I'm going to need you to really, I'm going to need you to handle it on a day-to-day. So when we took on Ye didn't even know G was working with me. Like, he didn't even know it was anybody else until he came to New York. And G was like, yo, what's up, man? I'm G, I'm hip-hop. He was like, oh, okay. I didn't, say like he didn't even know I had anybody else working with me. He just thought it was just me. So, so by that time, we A&Rs and we have our production company, and he ran into Just through another thing. So he bought Just and I bought Kanye, and that started our production company.
Right. Hip hop since 1978.
Yes, sir.
The year you were born.
Yeah, I was born.
Okay. And around that same time, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, comes out.
Yes, 1998. Yep, came out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that one went crazy.
That one went crazy.
6 times platinum.
Yep, yeah. Because that one started with Hard Knock Life.
Yeah.
Jay was on the No Way Out tour.
Right.
With Puff, and Kid Capri plays that record. He plays the 45 King vinyl of It's a Hard Knock Life. Jay runs over to Kid Capri like, what's that? What beat is that? Who is that? He's like, oh, that's a 45 King. He does these, 12 inches and stuff like that. And I remember Jay calling me off the tour. And he was like, yo, get with 45 King. He got a beat. I need you to track it. I'm about to leave this tour and I'm going to come record it as soon as I get home. So I found 45 King. It's just me and him in the studio. He tracks. He didn't even have to track it. He bought a 2-inch. He bought the 2-inch with the record, and Jay had to do a record for him because that record was like about to come out. So he's like, well, I don't want to give it to you. If I give it to you, I need you to do a beat for me. I need you to do a favor for me. And Jay was like, all right, cool. Just give me the other beat. Just lay both of those when you go there. So he came there with a 2-inch, and like it was the easiest session ever. He just was like, pull up the faders, and by that time, I'm really A&R, and I'm like booking sessions. We might have did that in a Hit Factory and stuff like that. So, cause the first album is also the transition into Def Jam, Out of Priority.
Right.
Cause that ended technically because the Freeze deal was a bad deal. Like the contract was an error, and they didn't want to change it. They was like, this is the contract, it's the error. Your lawyer messed up. They should have seen it. They didn't see it, and they was just sticking with it, and they wasn't gonna change it. It was a big error, like 22 instead of 2, like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
okay. It
was something like that where if that don't happen, I don't think we go to Def Jam, and I think a lot of things change. Because now we independent and we off on, we off, the money is different.
Yeah.
So they almost had to go to Def Jam because they spent all their money with intentions of getting it back off of the splits was so in their favor.
Right.
So they thinking, oh, Master P is doing it, these people doing it, you know what I mean? Because he was at Priority 2 at the same time. So we just looking at it from that perspective, like, okay, cool. Okay, 500,000 times 8. You know what I'm saying? Doing that kind of math and thinking like, okay, cool, we about to be good. But the deal didn't work that way. So it was like, okay, cool, we have to go somewhere. And, we went to a couple meetings. I remember, because at this time, I'm with Dame a lot every day. If I'm not, because Jay is only recording for a couple months out of the year. We ain't having too many other artists at the time. So I would just be with Dame a lot, going to meetings, going to we went to every label. I remember having a meeting with Interscope, having a meeting with Sony, Epic, meeting with Tommy Boy, with everybody, just trying to find the right deal. Universal and stuff. And then it landed on Def Jam because of the relationship. By that time, he done wrote songs for Foxy. They wanted to, I remember they wanted to sign Bleak at a time. And, so everything was already a cool relationship there as far as Kevin Lyles and everything. Because he's the one that kind of really did the Ain't No thing as far as, because Ain't No was out. So they were looking at it like, our artist is on there. So let's get this on our soundtrack. And now we really could work it. And that's where it really took off. So the relationship from Def Jam kind of just grew from there. So when the second album came, it was a joint venture with Def Jam. By the time the second album came.
Okay, so as we get into 1999, off the heels of, his biggest album ever, Volume 3 was supposed to come out, but there was bootlegging that was happening at the time.
Yeah. Was that Volume 3? Yeah, that was Volume 3.
And Lance Rivera was allegedly being blamed for the bootlegging, which culminated in the stabbing incident that happened. And I did Lance's first interview where he talked about that.
Right.
He claims Jay didn't stab him. I talked to Chris Gotti, who was there, and said, I have no problems with Lance, but yeah, Jay-Z stabbed him. I grabbed his knife and put him in a car. And
I ended up getting surrounded by a bunch of people. It was probably 10 knives that I knew of, and I ended up getting stabbed at the Kit Kat Club.
was Jay-Z the one that actually stabbed you?
No, Jay-Z was not the guy who actually stabbed me that night.
By the time I walked towards the back, and mind you, I didn't know where Un was. I didn't know where anybody was. I was just like coming to the party. I actually walked up and Un was on the ground. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm stabbed. Jay stabbed me. So I'm like, what? And he's like, Jay-Z stabbed me. And I'm like, what are you saying? Like, I'm like, stop saying that, pretty much. Like, what are you saying? Like, I just didn't think he knew what he was saying. I didn't know if he was stabbed. If I'm not mistaken, he had on like this, either had on like some sort of big coat or big like shirt, to the point where I didn't see any blood or anything. So I'm really not knowing what's going on. But by the time I, look up, it's nobody else in the club. It's literally just me and my two girlfriends and Un, and maybe like, some people that worked at the club or whatever. And he's, laying there.
This, that, and the third. Were you there when that happened?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, what happened?
I remember, you want me to go back to like how we got there?
Yeah.
I remember K Slay had some records, and that's how it was like we called K Slay. I remember Jay calling K Slay on the phone and being like, yo, where you get this record at? Where you get this record? And K Slay being like, yo, I ain't no snitch. I ain't no snitch. And
That's
I remember,
K-Slay, man.
and I remember clear as
K-Slay
day, right?
free.
So Jay said, okay, so the buck stopped with you. And K-Slay was like, P Nice.
Oh.
And so then it was like, okay, who's P Nice? Went to P Nice, and P Nice, I believe, said he got it from Buck Wow.
Okay.
Not the producer. Buck Wow worked for Un.
Okay.
So that's how it kind of got to Un. Because it was like, okay, where did you get it from? Where did you get it from? You know what I mean? So it was like a thread. So we was doing our release party was at Irving Plaza. Jay was performing at Irving Plaza, and everything was cool. I remember the Locks being there. I remember everything being cool. And then I remember somebody saying, Un's at the Q-Tip party. Everybody left our party and went over there to the party. So I remember us going in, and then we went up one way, and then it was like, he over there. And then everybody just went over there, just jetted over to that side. So I remember, what I can remember is like Charlie Baltimore screaming, like, stop, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I could remember Jay like hitting him or trying to hit him or trying to, you know what I mean? But it was so much going on, because I remember even the cops asking me this. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that you right there? And stuff like that. Like, I remember like being questioned for it, you know what I mean? and stuff. So I seen it on camera as well from there, and I seen it on camera when the cops asking me, was that me? And stuff. So from that point on, it looked like he was doing it. It looked like, but I don't know if he did. But I know he was trying to, or so, you know what I mean, and that sort of thing. But I ain't gonna be like, oh yeah, I seen, you know what I mean, because I didn't. But
well, I mean, you just go 6 times platinum, and okay, bootlegging is gonna affect some of your sales in New York if it gets played on the radio, I guess. But seriously, it's not enough to go to prison over it when you just went 6 times platinum. What was the mentality at that point to even go in that direction?
Bootlegs started to really show up on the streets now.
Okay.
At that point. Now you started to get like them pressing up the album with a fake cover.
Yeah.
And
Canal Street,
you started to get a lot
Jamaica,
of that
Queens,
happening.
I get it, but it's not, overall, it's not going to make a huge dent in what you're doing. Not enough to go to prison over, let's put it that way.
No, it definitely wasn't. I agree with you on that, for sure.
You might lose, what, 1%, 2% of your sales, maybe?
Yeah.
Worldwide, maybe?
It could go either way. Because if it ain't good, it could definitely bring down the momentum. Because like you said, you do 5, right? So now, if you just got the momentum off the 5 and people just excited, waiting to hear it, but then the people kind of like, oh, I heard it is whatever, it's cool, it ain't as good as the last one, and stuff like that. And so it kind of like messed up that momentum, and we was just reaching that point. And he also like thought he was cool. He thought they was like friends. He thought they was like had a certain level of respect for each other at that point.
Yeah, I mean, Volume 3 ends up doing triple platinum anyways, so.
That came a little later after like the Big Pimpin' and stuff like that. And like it's kind of like what you call it, but it started off slow.
Okay.
Started off slow with the Do It Again and So Ghetto. It was like good New York records and stuff, and then that record took a life of its own.
Well, after that, the Dynasty Roc-La Familia comes out, and that was Kanye's first beat.
That was Kanye's first beat,
on a Roc-A-Fella record.
Yep. That's a good story right there. That because at that point he was like, yo, how do I do it? Like, I'm trying to get these beats to him, but he ain't taking nothing. So I remember having a conversation with Kanye, because I actually stole that beat idea from Puffy. Because I was actually there when Sauce Money wrote Missing You. I was in the room with Sauce the whole time when he was writing for Puffy. And Puff came in and played it. He's like, I got this, but I don't want to use that. I need to go bigger. And he played the Miss You. He played a version of that, like a song over the Harold Melvin and the Blue Note record. But he was like, nah, but I need something bigger. And then he played, this is what I want to use. And he played he played the Sting stuff. And me and Sauce look at each other like, oh shit, damn, okay, this is where you going? So I remember telling Ye about that. Telling Ye like, yo, because we going through producers. We talking about Puff, we talking about RZA, we talking about Dre. 99, Chronic, whatever, just came out. So he goes and take the Puffy sample and put the Dre drums on there. So he's talking about these Dre drums from like Explosive. So he almost made a beat out of our conversation. So I'm like, yo, Dre, Puff used this record. He was like, what was that record you said? I was like, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. You know what I mean? And he was like, okay, cool. And then, the Dre record, he finds those drums and, he meshed them together. And to me, that's the birth of his style. That's when he started to really create this style where it's like these drums and this loop go together, but they not meshing. They all have a identity of their own versus like people trying to really have the drums tuck in there. But Kanye's like, nah, turn the drums up. He's really going for it. And so he called me like a few days later and was like, yo, you think Jay would like this? And he plays me the beat. And I was like, I think you got it. Send me that right away. I had to send him like the FedEx thing, the FedEx number, so you could FedEx the beat. And just like I thought, as soon as Jay heard the beat, he did it right away. And the whole story of him and Beans and calling Scarface, he's in town. Scarface do the record, that was all one day. Scarface walked to the studio, he was disheveled because he got news that somebody had passed away.
Oh.
And he goes right in and make the beat, in the studio to do the song with Jig. I got a phone call from one of my friends, you know what I mean? So that was like a real true story. And that was like in the middle of the Dynasty record. And the Dynasty record was the first record that we did in Baseline. That was the start of Baseline Studios. Like Malik Sealy was still living. He was there at the first couple sessions. And it didn't start with just a Kanye. It started with actually Bink. And not even like Bink giving us beats, but because when the studio opened up, we wasn't the first ones in there because we wasn't working at that time. We might have just put a record out. And the Dynasty was going to be a collective. It was going to be a crew album, a compilation album. But so that's where it kind of started. It was like, I remember Bink was doing a song for a chick named Mocha. And I was like, yo, go in that room. I told Jay to go into the room. I said, go into that room. I knew if he went into that room and heard that beat, he was going to try to get it. So he went in there and he heard the beat and asked her, he said, can I get this? She was like, yeah, go ahead. So he took it. He was like, yo, put that in the A room. And he did the first verse for You, Me, Him, and Her off the Dynasty record. And that was the first record for Dynasty. So what he did after that was he was just doing verses and being like, yo, I'm gonna get Beans and Bleak to finish this up because it was supposed to be a compilation album. That's why so many features on there. It's a lot of songs with Bleak, a lot of songs with Jay and Emil. It was just songs. So he just kind of did like he did with Biggie, where it was like he will do his part, leave it open. And he might have did that for like 4 or 5 songs. And like I said, at this time, we still thinking it's a compilation album. And then next thing you know, I remember Def Jam, somebody saying like, the Dynasty was going to be the group name, the Dynasty. And Roc La Familia was going to be the album name. Dynasty, Roc La Familia. So Def Jam was like, yo, we should really make this a Jay-Z album. Because by the time we finished, we got, we wasn't even finished yet. We was still doing a lot of Rick Rock was on there. It was the Parking Lot Pimpin' and, Change the Game. A lot of those records, it was like a real West Coast sound. And that was kind of like the intentions. It was like, we need to spread out some. Let's, the last album got us down south a little more with Big Pimpin' and UGK. So we was thinking like, okay, let's get some, let's go to the West Coast. And I remember trying to get some West Coast beats from a few people out here, Daz and a couple other producers. And but nothing really clicked, nothing worked. And then Rick Rock just happened to be signed to Big John, who Jay was signed to. And Jay was like, yo, it's this kid Rick Rock, he got some beats, man. He's flying in, take care of him, set him up in baseline, make sure he good. So all the songs he did like on the spot when he got the bass line. And that was the ones we used, Change the Game, Parking Lot Pimpin', a couple other ones, Squeeze First, I think. And so we had that connection with him. So that was like the bulk of the album. And then out the blue, Pharrell came, who we already knew for a minute now. He was coming to sessions, him and Jay had mutual friends from Virginia, and I remember she used to call up and be like, hey, Pharrell's in town, could he come through the studio? So he would come through some sessions, but at that time we was working with Timbaland a little more, because obviously Timbaland, so when we did the album before, Pharrell was in those sessions with Timbaland trying to help with hooks, not really playing us no beats. So he was just there, like he knew Tim, trying to help with stuff. But then by the time we got to the next album, the Nori record came out, Mystical record probably just came out. So Neptunes was a thing now.
Right. Well, I Just Want to Love You was on the Dynasty.
It was on the Dynasty,
which
yeah.
was one of Jay's biggest songs.
Yeah, but that was the last record on the Dynasty. That's the last record we did. We was about to do a video for Parking Lot Pimpin'. Like, everything was done.
Yeah, then you heard that record.
He came in with that record, and it was like, hold on. He taught the whole Def Jam to the studio. He was like, yo, I'm about to change the single. They was like, what you mean you changed the single? It's Parking Lot Pimpin'. We just rented 50 cars.
Right.
So it's like...
Yeah, let me play this, though.
Let's play this. And it was like, okay, cool. We got it. You know what I mean? So it was like, so that was one of a big day. And I remember clearly, like, I remember Shaka Zulu, Luda's manager, called me. He was like, yo, we need some help, man. I need some help. I need a second single for this Luda record. I was like, yo, you need to come to the studio now because Pharrell just gave us this record. So Pharrell literally did a Luda record downstairs in Right Track the same day he did that record. And I remember they came over. He did Cadillac Grills, Cadillac, you know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah, Yeah, he did that record the same day he did, he went downstairs. He's like, yo, I remember asking him, could you give me another room in here? I went to the front, got him a room because it's all Def Jam. So he went downstairs, he did that record, and, you know, I ain't been the same ever since. You know what I mean? But, so he, so that kind of changed the whole album, and it kind of really made sense now that it's a Jay album, because that song was a Jay solo record, and Sparks was just singing that all day, that day. All day he kept singing Give It To Me in the studio earlier. Jay told me to call Sparks to come to the studio and sing that. He's like, yo, tell Sparks come to the studio and sing that Give It To Me and put the Give It To Me on this. So he was singing the Give It To Me, and then obviously Pharrell came and added his part. Not came, but he was there. So he was like, nah, I need to add something else to it. And he did his part, and it kind of just went from there as far as that album goes. And then, you know, it did great as far as that album, because it was a big first week, I remember, because the first week just kept going up and up. It might have stalled a little bit on 3 because of the bootlegs and stuff. It did affect it.
Yeah, it went double platinum eventually.
Yeah.
Well, then that next year, 2001, Jay-Z goes on the Summer Jam stage and does Takeover.
And God's Takeover.
Where he disses Nas.
Publicly.
Nas.
He was really just a Prodigy.
Well, Prodigy caught it also.
That's what it was about. It had nothing to do with Nas. He just asked Prodigy. He said, ask Nas. He don't want it with Hove.
Oh, well, that sounded like a diss to me.
No, it did. But the verse wasn't on Takeover. Takeover had 4 verses, if you notice.
Okay.
So it was all about Prodigy. It wasn't, you know what I mean? He added the Nas verse after the Summer Jams, because Summer Jams came out and he said it, and then Nas just basically did something else. He did his record.
Right. Nas drops Ether.
Now he dropped something else first.
Oh, there's a song before Ether?
Yeah. Yep. It was the one when it was over the Eric B. and Rakim beat, and he was just...
Hold on a second.
That's when he said, go to Philly, eat beans fast, and go to tea. You know what I mean? He talked about, you know, he was like, so he dropped that record because it kind of like the live version of Takeover took a life of his own. And then the album came out with Takeover, with the Nas verse, with the lame and all of that. So that was added later. Because the whole Blueprint album...
The Stillmatic Freestyle? Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, the Stillmatic
Ask
Freestyle.
Puffy Who Cut You.
Yes, exactly.
What does that mean?
You said what?
Ask Puffy Who Cut You?
Who said that, Nas?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Huh.
I guess because I don't know what he meant by that, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, but he definitely dropped that. That came out like right after Summer Jams.
Okay. The Ether came out months later.
When Takeover actually came out.
Right.
When the Blueprint album came out, then Ether came out.
So I guess that Ask Puffy Who Cut You, I guess, is talking about an incident where Jay-Z got slashed during an altercation. Do you know anything about this?
Nah.
You've been cut in some sort of incident. I guess this is a rumor.
Mm-hmm. Nah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't
that.
about the Lance and Rivera situation. It was about something else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyways,
Yeah.
Ether comes out where there was no gray area when it came to that.
Yeah.
He clearly went at Jay with that.
Yes.
Jay responded with super ugly.
Yes.
But most people thought that Ether won.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was against super ugly because I felt like it was, to me, it was more Ether takeover than it was, I don't think he had to make super ugly to me. I think it should have been those two records.
And that's that.
And that's that.
Yeah, plus Super Ugly was over someone else's beat.
Yeah, it was over someone else's beat.
And
it just really...
it kind of took away from it being a real song.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So I felt like those two records should have duked it out, and that's where it should have been at, as far as that goes and stuff. But yeah, like the Blueprint is when the Ye thing really took off, as far as the production side of it and the whole sound. We got bass line, and that's where I feel like everything kind of came full circle, where it was like, hey, this is what I want to do.
Well, right, because Cameron joins Roc-A-Fella around this time.
Cameron
also.
joins around that
and
time,
he brings
too.
Dipset with him, and those are your friends.
Yeah, those are my friends. Yeah, we actually, me and Jim kind of tricked Cam to come into Roc-A-Fella in a way, because Cam and Dame had it out then. They was like, they had like a little, not a beef, but something happened. I think they talk about it with the car getting arrested and stuff like that, and so they wasn't really on speaking terms like that. And I remember me and Jim being like, "Yo, why don't we get them?" He was like, "Yo, we need to get Cam over there." I was like, "All right, cool. I'm gonna tell Dame that Cam want to meet, and you tell Cam that Dame want to meet." So we did like the Don King thing, you know what I'm saying? Where it was like, we knew one of them wasn't going to go out there first. Cam wasn't going to ask Dame, and Dame wasn't going to ask Cam.
Right.
So me and Jim kind of did it that way, because I went to high school with Jim. We went to the same school. Me, him, and Duke the God, we all went to the same high school and stuff. So we had our own relationship and stuff like that. So he's just like, yo, we need some help with the rock. So with Cam, we managed him for the album before he came to the Rock.
Oh, when he was with Lance?
Yeah, but Lance had kind of left, and he was kind of stuck at Sony by himself for SDE. And we kind of came on as a manager, and that kind of, it worked out, but then it was kind of like, yo, we need to get you over here. And then he got out of the Sony deal, and we got him over at Roc-A-Fella.
Right. And that first album, Come Home With Me, was a smash.
Mm-hmm.
Oh Boy, Hey Ma, Welcome to New York City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was just...
But, from what I understand, because I've interviewed Juelz before, it seemed like, from Juelz's point of view, that Cam and Jay kind of had a funny relationship. They didn't really get along.
Yeah, you could say that. I think it's a lot of Jay beef just come from people expecting more from him, expecting him to like really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even when you really get to it,
that's an interesting
like,
statement, man. Yeah.
When you get to like,
he's like a rich uncle,
Yeah, like even when you get to like Fat Joe and certain people like that, when you get to what they say, it was like he was like. But it wasn't, that was just how he was. It wasn't like he wasn't gonna just try to be cool with you. You know what I'm saying? He just was moving like he was moving. And a lot of people thought like, all right, cool, I'm on the Rock, what's up? Or we from New York, what's good? You know what I'm saying? So it was like a lot of people was expecting something and he wasn't giving it to them. And a lot of times that just be like bad blood and stuff like that. So
I remember like Eskino was saying how he was there when Petey Crack asked Jay-Z for like a car, and Jay-Z was like, are you done? No. And I'm like, well, it's a grown man. Like this is a grown man asking another grown man for a car. Like, you mad about that? Mm-hmm. Like, come on. Like, seriously.
Right.
It's not your kid.
Not for sure.
It's not your nephew. It's not your girlfriend. Like, yo, So a lot of times you're right. People just expected shit out of Jay, and when they didn't get what they expected, suddenly it's a beef with Jay. But you're right. Jay's always been about Jay, and you see where he is in life these days.
100%.
Okay, so Best of Both Worlds comes out with R. Kelly. This is before all the allegations and everything else like that. That ended up being a big record. Yeah. Blueprint 2, Gift and the Curse comes out, and I feel like that's when people felt he slipped a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, he blamed me for that, too.
I mean, it went 3 times platinum, but...
I mean, what happened is it just was all over the place, I feel, and we had too many songs, and it ended up being a double album.
A double album, yeah. This is the double album era, yeah.
Yeah, this is a double album era, and that kind of, I guess, as they say, came from... I gave him an idea, I guess, to do it, but I don't think nobody would do anything just because I said it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, but it kind of went to where... we was just recording a lot with like not really any particular direction, and we had so many different sounds, kind of like all those last 3 records. We had Kanye, we had Just, we had Timbaland, we had Trackmaster, we had so many different producers as well as random stuff coming in and out and we had the studio, so it was just, like I remember one time he rhymed kind of like almost for like a half an hour in the studio, like one time.
Damn.
Like, and that was like, and it was around that time. So it was like, damn, you have a lot on your mind. You have a lot of rhymes, you know what I'm saying? And because I guess it was a big gap in between Blueprint and Blueprint 2.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, the R. Kelly records is like on the spot verses. It's not a lot, you know what I mean? It's not 3 verses. So it's very easy for him to do. You know what I mean? It's almost like features. So that kind of came and went. I didn't really have nothing to do with that. I might have just think the only record I did on that was the Devin the Dude record. And just actually going to Houston and doing it, you know what I mean, with him and stuff like that. But that was mainly Tone. That was all Tone from Trackmaster, Steve Styled, and a lot of that relationship and stuff like that. So by the time we got to that Gift and the Curse, it was, like I said, it was a lot of records. It was like features, a lot of the Young Guns. It was like so much new artists involved. Kanye got his first feature on there. So, you know, Twista is on there. It's like, and then the Roc just kept getting bigger and bigger as far as new artists or new affiliates. So it was like trying to really work all that in to one project. So instead of like going in the direction of, because Blueprint was like magic. That was like, never had an album like happen that fast and that effortless. It was like let's say by the time, like 3 days, we might have had 10 songs. And then the 10 songs that's there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So
like every song there,
yeah,
for the most part.
Crazy.
Yeah, the other songs we might have over time, but like Kanye gave me a beat tape and Jay took everything off of it. You know, H to the Izzo, Never Change, Ain't No Love. So he did 4 of those records, and then Just We See the Direction. He comes with Girls, 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 couple other records, and then Bink comes with 3 more records. So by the time, like 4 or 5 days, we have like 10 records, and we just playing those 10 records for everybody. Everybody coming in, they hearing Ain't No Love, they hearing all these records. And then the last couple records we did was Song Cry, You Don't Know, and then the Trackmaster record and the Timbaland record. One of those, you know, those 2 records. Those like later.
Well, around this time, Kanye signs to Roc-A-Fella as an artist.
Yes.
Okay. Who was really responsible for getting him on Roc-A-Fella? Was it you? Was it Dame? Was it just a combination of people?
No, it was just me.
Really?
To be honest, yeah.
So Dame taking credit for signing Kanye when no one else believed in him?
He could take credit for technically he could take credit for every artist that's signed to Roc-A-Fella. True. You know what I mean? Kanye or not. So
good point. Yeah.
But that came through my production company, Hip Hop's 1978, and they thought it was going to be a compilation album. So the whole artistry of it, like me and G, we paid for Through the Wire. We paid for that video ourselves. You know what I mean? We paid for I was already working with him as an artist, like that was his intent. So we went around trying to get deals. Like I didn't want to sign with Roc-A-Fella. I wanted to take that and start something new with that. So that was me and G's intention. But nobody would bite. Like we went to a few labels, and like he said on the last song, on one of his songs, it was like the only person that really was biting was Triple H. I don't know if you know Triple H. He was at Capitol.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was the only one that was like, yo, let's do it. And last minute, they was like, nah, we cool, because everybody still had the producer rapper stigma going on.
Oh yeah.
And that was a tough thing to kind of get over. Like, is this gonna work? You know, they was comparing it to like, it's like Large Professor, Diamond D. These is like,
Right.
these albums don't even.
Yeah, they don't really. I mean, they're cool hip hop albums, but none of them have really.
Yeah, and they just thought he was gonna rhyme about making beats. You know what I mean? They just thought it was gonna be that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I already knew that, like, he had Jesus Walks and Hey Mama on his demo. So I knew the records was way bigger, and all his records had that sort of approach. So even with the, because when things clicked for him, to be honest, was me and him going to see Resurrection, Tupac documentary.
Mm-hmm.
We go see Resurrection. We leave in the movie theater, and I remember him looking at me and saying, "I figured it out. I could be myself." And it was like a light bulb went off. He was like, "I could be myself." He was like, "I'm gonna be back tomorrow. I was coming to the studio tomorrow." He came to the studio the next day, and he basically was like, "Yo, I want to name the album College Dropout." And then the next album, Graduation. No, Late Registration and Graduation. Then the fourth one, I want to name a Good Ass Job. So from that day to the next day, he came up with that whole plan. Like, this is the whole 4 albums. This is me. This is my vision. This is how I want to do it. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, and get us to Jay." And it was Bonnie and Clyde. So not only did he come up with the whole scheme for his life, he also was like listening to Pac and was like, "Oh, let me flip this real quick." And he flipped the, Bonnie and Clyde and gave it to Jay, because at the time Jay just started dating Beyonce. So he's like, "Yo, this would be perfect for y'all." So he gave me that. And then at that point, nobody knows that, right? So a lot of Ye signing to Roc-A-Fella, I remember when I went in to negotiate the deal with John McNeely, it was kind of more on the strength of me than him. It was like, this is what do you want to do, hip hop? You know what I'm saying? Like, how much it's gonna take for y'all to make the album? How much do you think this? What type of record is it? You know what I mean? That's me and John McNeely, only just me and him talking about that. Mm-hmm. At the time, he was kind of like on board. He was working there, and that sort of role. So it was, so they was like, "Hey, whatever you want to do, it's gonna go through your company. It's gonna go through your company." And they told me, so they kind of told him to do it. Like, let hip hop sign Kanye, kind of was like the thing that that was the way I felt it was. It was like, yo, let's let him sign Kanye. Like, they did all of this already. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like that. And also, we exhausted everything else. We didn't have no other places. So I kind of went and was like, yo, could we do this here? Yeah. I might ask my brother, or I think I might ask Biggs or something like that. It was either Biggs or Dame that I asked, could we do this here? The Kanye album there. And Dame was like, yeah, this could be a compilation now. We put all our rappers on it. Because at the time we had a lot of rappers. So he's like, yeah, we just do that type of album. And that was like, okay. that was like, that's okay, like whatever you say. And so when they gave us the budget, literally it was like 150. It was like 150 grand. And I remember getting whatever he got, and we not even taking nothing, because we like, all right, cool, we finally got a good check, you know what I mean? And you could do what you need to do. buy some equipment and stuff like that. So a lot of the early stuff was him going off and being like, okay, I got an opportunity. I moved to Jersey. I got my ADAT. I got my equipment. I could just make songs. I could bring in some rappers here and there to help me out. Because at the earlier stage, he would just have songs. We made a couple mixtapes and stuff like that. And I remember that's when I first met Chase, when it was like he was working with some label and he wanted some beats from Ye. And then he was like, yo, we got a mixtape we trying to print up. And he hooked us up with somebody out here that was doing mixtapes for like Strong Arm Steady in them. And that guy, and that's what we did to Get Well Soon and a couple other records, because he was staying in the W in Westwood the whole time. Because the accident happened, you know, during this time. So so by that time, we so it basically was like I already signed him there. I already was working there. So I met him in 96, you know, so I started managing him in probably 99. And then everything kind of went from there. So right at 99, What You Call It comes right after that. The Can't Be Life. And then obviously the Dynasty stuff came by mistake because he was giving me and G those beats to shop. But as I got them, I just played them for Jay right away. Jay wasn't working. That's why I said the Blueprint worked so fast, because we never had that many beats at one time. We usually go song by song, you know what I mean, as the beats come. But that one thing just set everything off, and we had our own studio. So it was like, before you know it, it was done. But so when he initially signed, it was like they wouldn't have just been like, they wouldn't have said, oh, let me sign him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't without me. So, you know what I mean? So.
Well, yeah, he signs, Through the Wire comes out as the first single. It gets, you know, people like it, but it's not a huge hit.
No, it's not a huge hit. But it told the story, and it really, it did a lot for that purpose. Like, as far as, you know, the whole idea, the concept, rapping through the wire, showing the pictures and stuff like that.
It was a dope record. And I remember I met Kanye right around that time because I did an interview with him. And by the way, the Kanye you see today, the exact same Kanye. 2003, 2004.
100%.
Absolutely no difference.
No
the way,
difference.
The overconfidence, the braggadocious, the I'm the best, why don't everyone see it?
Yeah.
There's no one better than me on this planet, and you should all know it. Exactly the same way. Yeah. Not in a mean way, but just as a I'm the shit.
No, 100%.
And I'm going to tell you I'm the shit.
That's what really messed up a lot of the meetings, was his over-ambitions.
Right.
Like getting on the desk, really like overselling it to the point where it was like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? So where it had to come through like a Roc-A-Fella situation where he had a little more, you know.
Yeah, because I remember in the studio he played me because he was doing a studio session with Common during that time, because he was working on Common's album, and he played me Slow Jams for the first time, and I'm like, oh shit, that's a hit.
Right.
And then sure enough, that became his first hit record.
Yes.
And then he was basically out of there after that.
Because that happened because we left, me and G. We left and went to Atlantic. So when we went to Atlantic, G came up with the idea to give that song to Twister and put it on both albums.
Right, yeah. It showed up on the Twister album and the Kanye album. Sort of a weird situation.
Right, but it allowed us to work Kanye album's songs simultaneously. Yeah. So he had that, and he had All Falls Down as his single, and he had that working as a single at the same time. And they were able to put a lot of money into it from the Atlantic side and the Def Jam side. So they both put money up, and Slow Jams really got the push it needed.
Yeah. Around the same time, Jay-Z drops the Black Album.
Is it? Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, because
2003.
Because I did that album when I was for free, because I was at Atlantic and I wasn't even at Def Jam no more. I was just doing it.
But before that album comes out, your brother, Bob, ends up getting killed.
Yes.
He got shot 8 times?
Yeah, I believe
in his car?
Yep. Yep. And the car crashed, and yep.
What was that whole situation over?
We never found out.
You never found out?
No.
They never figured out who did it or anything?
Oh.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
My condolences, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Mm-hmm.
And Jay was close to him as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Mm-hmm. He was in Song Cry video right next. You know, he was in a lot of videos with Jay, and he was in Paid in Full with Dame and stuff. You know, I mean, that's him in the car with Dame when Dame pull up. When he pulls up on Rich, and when he pulled up on, you know, when he kind of pulled up on the car talking shit, and he's like, your man look bad. He was talking about Bob, you know what I mean? Because, yeah, that happened. That came out of the blue. I remember being in the baseline when my friend called me and told me and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, he talks about it in Lucifer.
Yeah.
He said, Lord, forgive him. We've all sinned, but Bob's a good dude. Please let him in. If you feel in my heart that long for revenge, please blame it on the son of the morning. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys never found out who did it?
Nope. Yeah, they said.
What do you think happened? If you were just to guess.
I couldn't say, because could be girl, could be street shit. You know what I'm saying? Because he was heavy into both. You know what I mean? He wasn't really in the streets as much then. He was trying to really get out of it because he just came home not too long ago. You know, he was locked up. He got locked up with Kev Childs.
Okay, yeah.
And at that time, like, he was in that case, which is crazy as well, because that happened when I was in school. I was still in school when that case, when he got arrested. And like, I literally seen them come get it, Kev, and everything, because I was like going to school and all the cops is outside. I don't know what's going on, because it was like literally a block away from me. And later on, I hear, your brother's locked up. They locked up these people. It's in the paper and everything. And not to say my teacher, but my guidance counselor was on the jury for my brother's case.
Wow.
Like, I remember literally going to school, because at this time, I'm like, I only got like a class or 2 left, because I'm almost out of school. So, but I'm still going to my guidance counselor because I had just lost my step pops. He just passed away previously, so they kind of was like, hey, just speak to this lady, and you know, so, and she became like a real close to me. And then one day I went there, they're like, nah, she's on jury duty. So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. And I go to the courts, and the lady that's on jury duty is on jury duty for my brother's case.
Wow.
To the point where they had to like point me out, and she had to tell the judge that, hey, this is one of my students.
Huh.
And he's, you know, but they left her on the trial. They left her there. She remained on the jury for the case.
And she voted your brother guilty?
No.
Oh.
No.
Beat that case?
He beat that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he came home. Kev had a hung.
Oh, okay.
Kev had a hung jury. My brother and his other guys came home.
Yeah.
And so when he came home, he was getting himself together. Everything was cool. He had a clothing line. He was trying to start a few different things he was trying to get into on that side, because he really played ball a lot. But yeah, so as far as the actual incident, it was like in such a random place that people didn't really, you know, they didn't really know what happened.
Yeah, sad, man. My condolences.
Yeah, thanks.
My condolences. Mm-hmm. Well, that next year, 2004, Kanye drops The College Dropout, and you're the executive producer.
Yep.
On that album.
Mm-hmm.
And that
technically,
album,
that's when I started hip hop since 1978. We was more Rock the World before that as a production company, but when we realized it was going to be like a label situation, that's when we was like, hey, we need to come up with something different. And it wasn't even me, it was Al Branch who was like, yo, I don't want to use hip hop since 1978. Because I would like write that on the walls and write that in different places and stuff like that. It was something that I'd never thought of using as a label, especially with a collective, because I'm like, why would we use my name? You know, it wasn't something like that. But it made sense in the hip hop sense, and Ye liked the name. And it was like, okay, cool, I want to make hip hop records, so let's do it.
Yeah, that debuted at #2 on the Billboard charts, 4 times platinum.
Yeah.
A ton of big songs. Kanye is now a superstar rapper, not just the producer that does beats for Jay and them.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he's completely out of there.
Yeah, he threw the roof, changed my life forever.
But in that same year, Roc-A-Fella breaks up.
Yeah. And that's why I left.
Okay.
I left December 2002. And I remember they asked G to Atlantic was approaching G. And they was like, hey, we wanna hire you over here and we wanna give y'all a label. So Mike Cameron reached out. He's the one that kind of was like, hey, y'all guys is doing good, you know. And I remember they was like, yeah, but we want to have a meeting with you as well, just to let you know, for the label's sake and, you know, see what's up. And I remember being like, hey, why y'all ain't offer me a job? And they was like, what do you mean? You know, you're Big's brother. Like, why, you know, you Roc-A-Fella, you know, why would you want to go over here or something like that? And I really wanted to leave because I wasn't making much money, first of all.
A&Ring all of Jay's albums. And you did the Black album too, right? You know, A&R that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you A&R'd all of Jay's albums and you were not making that much money.
Nah, I wasn't making six figures.
Really?
I was making like, I remember I just got a raise to 80.
Wow.
I was making like 50.
You weren't making points off the album?
Nah.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I was making like 50 at one time, because actually I started from an intern. So it was just like, the climb was, it didn't jump. You know, it was just like, and then I remember when it was like, you know, the accountant came, was like, hey, we're going to give you a raise. And I remember them showing me and it said 80. And I was like, okay. And I remember Don Poole, who was Foxy manager, was an A&R at MCA. And I remember he was making like 300,000 or something like that. And all these other A&Rs was making all this type of money. And I'm like, but I'm doing this and I'm making this. And I'm like, and I just felt like it would never go, I would never reach that level here, just from what I don't know, the way they look at me or whatever it is, you know. So when G was leaving, he was about to make more money than me at Atlantic. And also you started to see the breakup, you know. So, and I remember one time Leo and Julie came to me and they said, we heard you thinking about leaving, you know, and stuff. I was like, yeah, I guess, you know, I got offered, you know, and they was like, well, we need you to stay here because Jay's going to do his own label.
Oh, so you already knew about the breakup.
He's going to need you, right?
2 years early.
It was
a year maybe?
A year early.
Or so.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Okay,
yeah.
So from your point of view, why did Roc-A-Fella break up? From your point of view.
Let me see. Good question. I think that Jay being passive, I think, kind of led to Dame taking on the role. He was already the CEO. He was already being the face of the label.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I remember Dame being not mad at Jay, but expecting more like for all the artists, like to where Jay kind of felt like he was doing songs with everybody. He would like introduce everybody at that time, whether it was Rail, whether it was whoever, Beatty Crack, you know what I mean? But it was a lot more R&B stuff. It was artists before who never even came out, like the female named Michelle Mitchell. It was like Jay's on her first single. Rail, he's on, you know, and Jay's kind of like introducing everybody. And then at a point he wasn't doing it no more. He wasn't really doing it for like, let's say Cam or people like that. He kind of started stepping back and being like, I got a career myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that part started to kick in where it's like, okay, I can't like sacrifice Jay-Z for Roc-A-Fella, if that makes sense. So And I think that part started to come in where that's where a lot of the separation, because it been separation. It been like two coexisting units as far as Jay. Because when we in the studio, Dame's not in the studio. It's just me, Jay, and Tata for the most part for a lot of those early albums. You know what I mean? And Dame is moving around, probably with Biggs, probably with some models, probably at meetings, doing that type of stuff like that. So he was doing more movie stuff, doing more things of that nature, even Rock-A-Fella. So that's all those things started to grow on that side, and Jay's growing on the artist side. So I think it was the artist and the label side of it to where I think Jay just wanted to really be on his own, to where it's like, okay, I'm not taking the weight of everything else. Because even like when Christian came out, right? A good example, Jay did well, but Christian didn't. And we didn't make no money. You know what I'm saying? So I think like Jay wanted like his own thing. It made more sense for him to, because even I think to this day, he's his own entity. He's not signed to Roc Nation or nothing. It's when he released a record, it's just him. And I think that's what he kind of envisioned at a certain point. And Dame seen Roc-A-Fella as going into all these other areas of business and stuff like that. So at that point, I think where Jay was going to do S. Carter, and he told nigga keep Roc-A-Fella. That's where a lot of the Dame stuff come in at, when he always say, you took Roc-A-Fella from me, this and that and the third. So it was definitely, that was what it seemed like it was. It was like, okay, y'all could keep Roc-A-Fella. I'm going to create something new.
I mean, do you think to a certain degree he saw Dame as a liability? Because Dame had slapped Steve Stout, around that time. Mm-hmm. I remember there was an incident where he screamed at Harvey Weinstein in the middle of a big restaurant. He was screaming at the staff. Mm-hmm. I tried to work with Dame. I gave up. He's just too annoying to have around, man. It's just like he'll start. He's abrasive. He's just an abrasive person in general. And when you're dealing with people who are already successful, they just don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's what I meant by the two different units, to where it was like, it was cool early because the fact that Jay was so reserved allowed Dame
to be the mouthpiece.
Yeah. And it also helped because he was willing to go places Jay wasn't going to go. He was willing to really fight for every Roc-A-Fella artist the same way. So it wasn't like Jay gets this and everybody else get that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Dame was like, he fought for everybody. You know what I mean? And it just got to the point where him fighting became more of a rebellious thing, because then it's like, Def Jam, the whole Kevin Liles thing, the Quarter Water thing, the this thing, like you said, the Stout thing, the all those things. So it would work in both ways, where a Rock will come out of that, a Paid in Full will come out of that, but then also somebody that Jay cool with, might get smacked or something like that, or some beef might happen and stuff like that. So it was, but even up to that point, it wasn't like a big tension. It was more like, I'll let y'all take that, let me go over here.
Well, yeah, because after the breakup happened, everyone got paid out. Did you get paid out by that, or? I
was gone.
You were gone by that?
I was gone by that.
Got it. Mm-hmm. But it sold for what, like, how many billions?
I got paid. I got a check the first time. When they sold the first half, we got a nice check. So I did get a nice check from them at one time. I got a 6-figure check at one time.
Sold for $23 million. Mm-hmm. Right. They bought the initial stake, a 50-50 stake, for $1.5 million, and bought the other 50% for $23 million later on in 2004 when Def Jam bought Roc-A-Fella.
The other way around. I mean, yeah, it was either way.
What do you mean other way around?
I think they might have made more than the first time.
No, originally, in 1997, they paid $1.5 million.
Right, but not for half.
No? Well, that's what it says here. Well, this is AI.
No,
I don't know.
No, but what happened is that was just for the JV deal. That was just an advance for the JV deal.
Oh, okay, got
That
it.
wasn't for half of the label.
Okay. Well,
But
anyways.
at a certain point, they did buy half.
Oh, okay. That came later. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, they bought the other half for $23 million. Everyone got cashed out, but then Jay-Z went to Def Jam, and then Def Jam gave him back all his masters,
Right, yes.
which upset Dame. But listen, the deal was the deal.
Because when he got back his masters, they also gave him back Roc-A-Fella.
Exactly.
And that's where it was like, but even when he said they could have Roc-A-Fella, it wasn't for him to give it to them. They
Right.
sold it to Def Jam, so Def Jam would have had to give it to them.
Right, because they wanted Jay as president of Def Jam,
Yes.
which he became for a few years.
Yes. So
Right.
it was their decision at Def Jam to be
Exactly.
like, okay, cool,
Right.
and they give you your masters as well. So it was no way he was going to turn that down.
Yeah, Dame Dash started Dame Dash Music Group, which ultimately did not take off. Because everyone stayed with Jay.
Yeah, most people did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just stay with Roc-A-Fella, you could say, or Def Jam.
Yeah. And then Late Registration comes out in 2005. And you're executive producer of that as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I was able to produce all of them
And that was a huge
up
album.
until like a few years ago, Donda maybe.
Yeah. So that blows
that
up.
blows up. Yeah.
By 2007, you become the president of Urban at Columbia Records.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that your first big industry like paycheck?
No, it was Atlantic. It was the Atlantic one.
Oh, Atlantic
Yeah,
first.
because Atlantic came when I left in 2002.
Oh, okay.
So after that, I decided, okay, I didn't want to be in the middle of it. So when they were saying Jay gonna do his thing and he needs you, I'm basically like, but this is my brother and this is Dame, so I'm not gonna go to either side.
Okay.
I'm just gonna leave.
Right.
So that was my decision to just go and leave and go to Atlantic with G. So we go there, and I still did Black Album when I was at Atlantic. I still did Philadelphia Freeway when I was at Atlantic. I still had a carve out to work on those artists. And
Right.
and then I didn't like working at Atlantic. I didn't like working at labels, so I just left. And then eventually I became friends with Rick Rubin, and he became like a mentor to me. And when he got the job at Columbia, he asked me to come with him.
Oh, that's how you ended up.
That's how I ended up Columbia.
Right. And then the next year, Jay-Z starts Roc Nation, 2008.
Yeah. After the because he does the Roc-A-Fella thing at Def Jam for a minute.
Yeah.
He goes and runs that for a little bit. That's where the Rihanna and all that
Exactly.
stuff kind of starts at. And when I left Atlantic, they thought that's what I wanted to do. Because keep in mind, Leo and them telling me that Jay's gonna do his own thing, so I leave and go to Atlantic. But who comes to Atlantic right after that? Leo. He comes to Warner, him and Julie. They all comes over there now. So now I'm like, oh God, now I'm dealing with y'all again. You know what I mean? And now they like, hey, I'm working with T.I. and stuff. And they like, I remember them saying, hey, you can make an album in a week. You know what I'm saying? Why is this thing taking so long? Like, what's going on over here and stuff? You know what I mean? Because they just remember me from the J stuff and like Blueprint and Dynasty and all those albums coming out being done so fast and stuff. So now they're over there, and I'm basically like, I'm good. I'm ready to, I want to just go. Because at this time, Lil Wayne comes into the picture. So, but when we took the job with Atlantic, we couldn't manage nobody. It was in our contract that you could still work with Kanye and Just, but you can't take on no new clients.
Okay.
So I meet Wayne, and you know his manager at the time was which is funny, was Larry Johnson, the running back
Yeah.
from Kansas City Chief. He reaches out to me and say, yo, you know, Wayne told me to reach out to you. You know, I'm managing him and this, that, and the third. So I'm like, all right, cool. But the next thing you know, he's like, nah, I got to focus on football. So it's open. And it was a girl named Melissa that was working with Wayne. And at this time, I'm just consulting Wayne. I'm not managing him. I'm just helping him. She asked me some questions. I'm helping her out. I'm helping him out. And he's about to leave Cash Money. He's talking about leaving Cash Money. And Atlantic want to sign him. So she goes into a meeting with Atlantic. Atlantic writes the check. Give him a check for $1 million or whatever it was. And she tells them he got to speak to hip hop first. Because that's who he's, she was like, well, he needs to speak to hip hop. So they called me and they like, hold on, you manage Lil Wayne? I'm like, no, I don't manage Lil Wayne. But they told me I can't manage nobody. So I'm already being like, hold on, what's going on? You're trying to, I'm like, if I get upset with her, like, how you going to say that? Like in a meeting, like, yes, I work here. Like, how you going to tell them that he got to speak to me, even though he would have want to speak to me, and kind of just, because he wasn't like, he didn't know much about the music workings of the business. Like when I met him and I started working with him, his contract was signed by a kid. You could tell a kid signed it. It was like that real script, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't a signature. It was just like he just learned how to write cursive type stuff. You know what I mean? So, and he wasn't really even publishing. He didn't have a publishing company. He wasn't like a registered publisher at all. Like he was just, everything for Cash Money was under the same thing. So I'm just trying to help him get his money back. I'm trying to give him a lawyer. I'm trying to help him on that side. So that kind of creates a light bulb in my head where I'm like, gee, you stay and I leave so I could manage Wayne. And we don't have that over our head. You know what I'm saying? But if we both here, it's not beneficial for us. So when I left, it was intention to go work with Wayne, but they thought I was going to go work with Jay. But I'm like, nah, it's more about hip hop's 1978. We wanted more clients.
Right. So you managed Lil Wayne, but then you also end up managing Nicki Minaj?
And that's not me.
No?
That's really G.
Okay.
Yeah, so by the time I do the Wayne stuff, and then at that point, we hip hop's 1978, we got Kanye West and we got Lil Wayne. So things just started coming to us. We managed a bunch of people during that time.
Right. Wasn't Drake getting managed by you guys at one point?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. How long were you managing Drake for?
First album, maybe.
Okay.
First album and so, yep. So when he came out, like when it was time to work those records, because we had a formula starting with the Ye stuff. When we did the Ye stuff, we hired Rob Stone, Cornerstone, for Through the Wire in those records ourselves. So we had paid that ourselves, just like we paid the video ourselves. So that's why I'm saying, like, they believed in it. We had to do a lot to get it going to where it even made sense for them to start caring about it. So when Drake came, we did the same thing with Success and Best I Ever Had. We hired Cornerstone and they worked those records, and those records was big before he even got a deal. So when he got the deal, I started to drift away out of that circle. We started to get Cortez came in, because when I did the Wayne thing and it became official, he asked me to make sure Cortez is a part of it. Because at the time, Cortez was working with the kind of like more of his road manager, every day-to-day guy and stuff like that. He was like, yo, I just want Cortez to be a part of it. I'm like, of course, that makes sense. That was kind of like what we wanted. We couldn't be the day-to-day for everybody. So we was like, that's perfect. So Cortez came in, Gene Nelson came in through Atlantic because we was working with Little Kim and he was with her. So by the time our team just kept growing. So by the time Nicki came, I wasn't really involved in her. I don't even know her, to be honest. You know what I mean? I might have seen her once or twice, so I never really had to do anything with her like that or work with her.
Well, I mean, managing such huge artists, Lil Wayne, I mean, Nicki's under your umbrella, Drake. Was the money really pouring in at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I was going to say.
Yeah, that's when I started to make a lot of money, and I was just investing in stuff like partnering with Fat Beats, partnering with A-Life, partnering with other companies, just, investing in things, and kind of like, it was good for a moment. And then it, I ain't gonna say it all crashed, but because of, I was involved in Wayne and Kanye. That was like my direct connection. That's what I got paid from. By the time Nicki came, other people came in and they had to get money. They had to split it with them. And Drake, I probably made a little bit of money from him, but it was only a short time.
Right, because he left.
Because he left, yeah. And he
Is
also
even
sued
managed
us.
these days, or?
He even sued us.
Oh, he sued you guys?
Yeah.
Why?
For letting him sign the deal he signed.
Okay.
You know, because it didn't have much to do with me, but it was a lot of companies involved in that. It was like Prince, Cortez,
Jay Prince, yeah.
Young Money, you know what I mean? So it was like, you know, it was in...
Well, Birdman.
Eventually Birdman. Yeah, so it was a lot of, you know, it was going through a lot of different, you know, a lot of people was eating off that pie. It was a lot of people eating off the pie, and by the time, you know, it was kind of like, why did y'all let this happen? So he kind of shut everything down and stuff, and it was just kind of, you know, and he had his team. He had other aspirations, and he had his team as well. So he had his team that he wanted to really work with and get behind, and, you know, so that was, you know, it wasn't like a big suing thing. It was kind of like, hold on, let's get this straight first. Mm-hmm.
Well, you continue to work with Kanye, album after album.
Yeah.
Until what? Donda?
Yeah, that's like the last time.
Okay.
I believe. Was it? Yeah, Donda, yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you saw the whole anti-Semitic thing and the fallout that came from that, losing the Adidas deal and so forth, and look, Kanye's is fine. He's doing huge, massive, sold-out shows. People are still listening to his albums.
Yeah.
But going through that was something that no one really wants to go through.
Not at all.
And, you know, he's still banned from certain countries and so forth. Like, you know, Kanye's going to do well, but I don't think he'll reach the superstar level that he was at when he had all the corporate support and everything else like that. How do you feel about that?
Feel like a lot of it is some of what he wanted, because I don't think he wanted that pressure of a lot of other things. Like he wanted to push the envelope all the time. And I feel like a lot of that was holding him back from pushing the envelope all the time.
Other corporate stuff?
Yeah. So when it kind of went to the point where he just went that way, he just went left as far as I could get attention from other things. Because at that time, that's when social media, all these other things started to come into play. So it wasn't just like, okay, I need to make another great album. And he felt like that wasn't the thing, because even albums at that point was like Yeezus, to me, was the split. The Yeezus album was kind of like that, a different Ye. Because before that was Watch the Throne.
Great album.
So to me, when he left Watch the Throne, him and Jay went separate ways in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he didn't want to really embrace that no more, that whole what people expect. Everything was like a left. And he always been that way, like you said, but it's never going to be that way in the same arena. It's never going to, you know what I mean? It's going to go into fashion. It's going to go into films. It's going to go into different things. And he's constantly going to take that approach. I'm going left. I'm not doing what they're doing. And I feel like once the Drakes, the Big Three and all those guys came out, you know, because a lot of that to me is parts of Ye. You know what I mean? The Coles, the Drakes, the Kendricks, you know what I mean? Those are stuff that he used to do. And he wasn't going to compete with them. So at that point, it was like, I'm doing Yeezus, I'm rapping over these type of beats. My songs is called Black Skinheads. My songs is called, you know what I'm saying? He started making song titles. Even Niggas in Paris is like a part of that. Even though Jay let that go, but that was Ye being like, this could be called something very simple.
Yeah, or I can go edgy.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way edgy.
I'm going all the way edgy. You know what I mean? And he's been going edgy ever since then.
That's true.
And I think this all just it just elevated to that point.
Yeah, I almost feel like he's using his life as performance art. in a way.
100%.
Like, watch me be crucified by everyone.
Exactly.
But this is all art. And
Right.
I'm going to use this as fuel to my next whatever I do.
Yeah.
Man, listen, I had a Kanye interview scheduled. Like, we were right there to the point where he sent me the whole Bully album. I had the whole album, you know, for months before anyone. We had booked the studio. We were going over questions.
Right.
And then it was like, yo, his medication, they're still trying to work it out. And he's not completely lucid right now.
Right.
And if you notice this last album, no interviews.
No, it was
First time ever in his 20 plus year career that he has not done any interviews.
Yeah, because he was, I remember him, because the album was done for a minute. And there was times where everything was kind of going like it was going okay, you know, and then it was like, it blew up again, you know what I'm saying? And I think that, because even with the Yeezus and then Adidas stuff, because we was trying to get him new deals for a minute, but he just wouldn't do it. And I think those deals came in part of the Kardashian and like getting into that world and seeing the branding and seeing what him, you know, what he could get out of it. And, you know, and they also was giving him the ability to express that different left approach in fashion. With the shoes he was making, with the stuff he was doing.
I had a ton. I mean, I still have a bunch of, you know, Yeezys, Adidas Yeezys. Man, those were, I mean, that was a major statement, man.
Yeah.
That they really, he went head to head with Jordan. And in certain ways, he won.
Yeah.
I mean, these days, not so much because now he's just putting out the stuff himself. But I'm just saying, man, he went all the way with it. I mean, do you think, as someone who spent a lot of time with him, that he has real mental illness?
I wouldn't say mental illness, but I do feel like he has no filter.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times when it's expressed in music, when it's expressed in like a, you know, like a normal medium, it's not as bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when it started getting to Drink Champs and getting to interviews and stuff like that, because he want all of everything he does it with that
all the way, yeah.
with that sort of approach, the way he addresses, the way he approaches the girl he want, the way, you know, everything is done with that same thing. So it's still always been him, like you said. It was always been that person, but I think that it just kept going and going and going to where it's like, where do you go next? Where do you go? You know what I'm saying? And he's not gonna go backwards. He's not gonna be like, hey, let me do this again. Let me do that again. Let me get back to that town. Let me do this. You know what I mean? So he's constantly gonna be moving. And I think when he got to the Adidas thing and it was like, okay, now I'm this creative genius that's pushing these buttons and I'm a billionaire. So literally you can't tell me nothing on that level. You know what I mean? So that turned into that. And I think that level of can't tell me nothing and, you know, his just approach to things kind of took a new life. And it's like, where do you go from creating a $1 billion brand that reached Jordan? Oh, you run for president. Okay, where do you go from there? You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's not working. Okay, cool. And then, like, if you think about it, the way things started to go in society, people started to really respect the spectacles and those type of people and those type of things, whether it was from Trump, whether it was from, you know what I mean, a lot of those guys.
He fit right in there.
He fit right into it. And it was like, and I think that part of it was like, okay, I could do that. And I think he started enjoying that just as much.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, that's the biggest platform. It's like everybody's talking about it. And then now you're trying to tell me not to do this. And that's gonna go the other way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you like, hey, don't do that. And that's where I think the Kim and all that stuff kind of goes left, because it's like they was the ones who was really had him under control for a nice amount of time where he didn't have no social media.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
after he got divorced, though.
Yes, exactly. He got his
He went full retard, let me tell you.
Yeah. So I think that was a part of it, but I think it's always been coming from the same place, but it just kept going and going and going to the point where it ended up with that because people told him not to say these things.
Right.
And it's like, that's the best way to get him to say that, is to tell him not to say it.
Well, you and Dame Dash go back to the very beginning where you see where Dame Dash is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Hold on a second. There's a text. There's something I found that was actually really, really kind of funny. You see, being in your 50s is wild. Everyone is living a different timeline. Some are grandparents, some have infants, some are celebrating 20 years of marriage, some are dating 25-year-olds, some look 38, some look 78. You've seen this before?
I seen that, yeah.
Bro, that is so true.
So true.
I check off a few of those boxes.
100%.
Let me tell you. A few of the good ones.
And
yeah, when you look at Jay and Dame Dash, Jay's a billionaire. You know, he's he's got a bunch of sold out shows. He's got deals with the NFL. Rock Nation is still a major entity. Dame is now missing his teeth. He's in debt to an amount that I don't think he'll be able to pay off in his lifetime.
Right.
You know, being 6 million or so, 7 million, 8 million in debt without having a real stream of income, being 50 something years old, you're going to die in debt, essentially.
And basically,
you're always going to have people chasing after you for money. You have to put stuff in other people's names. I'm not saying that he's homeless. Clearly, he's found a way to support himself through other people's, Kanye said that he'll always make sure, Dame is good. I don't know if that's true or not, but two drastically different outcomes with two people that start off in essentially the same place. And Dame could have been right there with Jay in terms of overall success. Maybe not in the same company, but listen, Rachel Roy was a success, and he had some other projects, Paid in Full was a success. Dame was a very talented guy. I wanted to work with Dame. At one point, I realized I couldn't.
Right.
What do you think about the way Dame turned out where he is these days? I mean, he's constantly dissing Jay-Z and talking shit about him in every interview and so forth.
It's I think it's similar to Ye, it's similar to Jay. It's like they all still those same people, but it just went left for Dame because of, like, nobody changed. Nobody changed at all.
Yeah, you're right. Still the same person that he was.
Yeah, they're all still the same person they was, but it's all about, okay, if you're going to still do business this way where I invest my own money, I'm my own boss, I don't want to work for, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to work for nobody. I don't want to do these things, to where he could have easily been 5 shows deep on Stars or whatever, or doing anything in those arenas, still doing film, but it was more like, I want to put the money, I want to do it this way. And I don't know if he realized that might not be the best way to do it, because that's where he ended up in debt, you know what I mean? But it worked so many times. Just like with Ye, it worked so many times. Like me going left worked every time.
Until it didn't.
Exactly. Yeah. And then now it's like, okay, I'm going left in the arena where I'm a little out of my, not to say comfort zone, where it's like I'm pissing off the wrong people, but Ben did that. He been pissed off Leo or pissed off this person, to where Harvey, whatever, you know what I mean, to where people, like you said, tried and just didn't want to work with him or whatever. And then it came to the point where you kind of, I always looked at it like a college coach that's real rowdy, and it's like a Bobby Knight or somebody like that, and it's like, okay, I'm at your school, so okay, I got you. But once you leave that school, you're not screaming out. You're not, you know what I mean? I'm not on your team no more. You're not my coach no more. You're not. And I think that once people get outside of it, but he still treats it the same way. He still talk to people the same way. He still deal with it the same way.
He dealt with me the same way. And that was it. I was out. I said, man, come on, you're not going to talk to me like that.
Right, yeah.
Like,
and I never worked with him after the case. So I never had a problem with him, because I never did anything else after, beyond that. You know what I mean? But Biggs tried it. He did a few things and got further probably than anybody from the original team. But actually that ran its course.
Well, I think that in situations in partnerships, it's very easy to say it was all me. It's easy to say that when there's success.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to say that. It was all me. I was the reason why Roc-A-Fella blew up. Biggs could make a same claim if he wanted to, and Jay could make the same claim if he wanted to. But when those partnerships break up, you start to see where the talent really lies. When they start going off on their own, and clearly you saw the main talent was Jay. No offense to your brother, but it is what it is, right?
100%.
And in terms of treating people a certain type of way, when you have Jay in your pocket, people will tolerate it.
Yes.
Right? When people know they got to put up with you because they want to do business with Jay and you're the gatekeeper, it works fine.
Yeah.
People will sit there and swallow their pride and get yelled at and whatever else and so forth because they're seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah.
We don't have Jay in your pocket anymore. You're just yelling for the sake of yelling, and a person's like, why the fuck are you yelling at me right now? You don't have Jay anymore.
Exactly.
Right? And a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with this, right? There's certain people in the world, for example, people like yourself, who do well when they associate themselves with the superstars. And they know how to play their position. They know how to harness that energy. They know not to upstage the person or whatever else, act like they're the boss. Because in this business, you see a lot of this, right? Dealing with people who are assistants and managers, and they're talking to you like they're that person. And you're like, man, go fuck yourself. Like, well, fuck, I'm 10 times richer than you. Like, you're not Dr. Dre. Like, why are you talking to me like this?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, click. You know, but certain people don't realize that they think that they're the stars. You know, Dame went on to be sing in a rock band, and you hear that new song about the teeth, right? I'm talking to Cameron, right? I'm like, how you gonna make a song dissing someone's teeth when you have no teeth? Like, how does this make any sense whatsoever, right? It's like, Cam's like, exactly. You know, it's just seeing it, man, is a little sad because I think Dame was one of my heroes. I was excited to work with him when I first started to. But then I wasn't. And I think Dame gonna be Dame to his final breath, man.
No, 100%.
He's never gonna change. He's never gonna humble himself.
Nah, not at all. And I think that's the thing. But that's what was needed at a time.
Right.
At a time, like, to get through, for Roc-A-Fella to be Roc-A-Fella.
But you have to expand. You have to grow as a person.
I agree.
Right? Imagine, listen, I met you during my mixtape days. I had the mixtape of the year, Tupac Rap Phenomenon. You bumped it. You know, QD3 bumped it. It was a time. I got awards, everything else like that. I'm not talking about that shit anymore. Right? That's a long time. That's over 20 years ago. Imagine if I'm still talking about that shit. And trying to still, like, get into clubs free because of my mixtape from 20 years ago. No. Like, it's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
Trying to get it on streaming, right? You know? Argue with the state.
Argue with the state. None of it's cleared, right? I get sued. You know, taken down the same day. What about Eskino? What's your take on Eskino's various rants about Roc-A-Fella and so forth? And you were there when all this was happening.
Right. I don't know. I feel like at a certain point, just like with the Dame thing, I think that it started to work for them. You know what I'm saying? As far as the visibility, the algorithm, the streams, and the approach. And then you have people who don't like Jay. So they feed that. They feed that audience.
Right.
And when you look at it, there's people that's like, see, I told you Jay stole, look, he stole one of these guys' songs. You know what I'm saying?
Did you ever see that viral tweet I did about how Jay-Z's been paying everyone off and everything else like that?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? I'm like, yo, I got to confess.
Yeah.
Jay's been paying me.
It went crazy.
He paid off all the judges.
See, told you.
I made it so stupid. I even said that Jay did a verse for the judge's grandson.
Right.
I said, how stupid can I make this tweet where people will just laugh at it and discount it?
Right.
Most people did not laugh at it. It went super viral. I think it went 10 million views. Tory Lanez' lawyers called me, like, you know, all these people were calling me and trying to figure out what I knew and how this happened. And I'm like, I'm lying. This whole thing is just trolling. But people love to hate Jay-Z.
They do.
And let me tell you, even when I said I was lying, people thought that I'd been paid off by Jay-Z to lie about the original lie.
Right.
So, you know, what am I going to do? I can't win.
Nah, for sure. Like, it's definitely where you reach a point where you know he ain't gonna say nothing to you.
Yeah.
You know he's not gonna have an interview and debunk anything.
Yeah.
So you could just let it go and go and go and go and go. Whether Jasmine, I mean, what's her name? Right.
Jaguar Wright.
Jaguar Wright.
Right. Total nonsense.
You know what I mean? Skino, and now, you know what I mean, Dame, and you know what I mean? Because now it's just like, I don't know what's next. You know what I mean? Because, you know, he's not going to entertain it on that front. He would mention it in a rhyme.
Yeah.
Throw a little shots, and then he go back out, you know, go back in. So it's a lot of content for them. And there's a lot of people that feel that way, whether it's, you know, I see it every day out there on social media, is somebody up there with a big J conspiracy. See, I knew it. Look at this, the capitalism, the Target, the this,
Desiree
the that.
Perez, that whole thing with her cooperating and whatever else.
Yep.
Nicki Minaj pushes that whole thing.
Yeah, she's yep. So it's like everybody's, because they know it ain't gonna be. It's not a real penalty. Nobody's in the streets. Nobody's, you know what I'm saying? He's not running down them at the Kit Kat Club no more. No. You know what I'm saying? He's not, you know what I mean? Now he has way too much money to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So now he's really not thinking about it in that front. But back then he still had a little bit of street, you know, mentality in it. So it was like the instinct just kicked in. But as far as now, I think that, you know, they just all run with it. And it's like they find something and they go with it. And it's like, okay, he was still in the song. It's like, nah, if anybody stole that song, I stole that song. You know what I mean? Because I just knew, like, All I Need, like the song Skino said Jay took from the group from Philly. That was a Bink song that I tried to get for Beans. I loved the song. I wanted it on Beans' album. I was like, yo, why don't we keep the group on there? Let's make it from one of his records. We need a single. This will be perfect. And they didn't want to do it. A year or so later, they got dropped. I think one of the guys passed away. And we was in the middle of, you know, Blueprint, and Bink did 2 records. And I'm like, what about that All I Need song? They still got that? He's like, yeah, I got the real. I got the, you know, and then it was like, okay, cool, here we go. You know what I mean? They got paid. They in the credits. So they still get publishing from that record, you know? So everything went about it that way, or the Chris, you know what I mean? Like all of those things is actually irrelevant in most cases, you know? So, but it's just, it's conversation. They know people are going to talk about it. They know people are going to latch on to it. So it's like, you know, they'll run with it, you know, which is, I don't know, you know, like you said, it's like you set them off. You set them off.
Yeah, shout out to Skino, man. That's the homie right there. I'm glad. I like setting people off. You know, setting people off in a direction to make their own money.
I've always been cool. Oh, he was one of my favorite artists. You know what I mean? Like working with. I thought he was super nice. He was as far as an MC, real cool. I got nothing
bad to say about him.
You know what I mean? And even like he was sending me freestyles and stuff like right before all of that. He, you know, he was still like reach out and stuff like that and everything, but. Like now it's just, you know, this is the way he chooses to get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And hey, you know what I mean?
It is what it is.
Yeah. It's just that part of that part of the algorithm, whatever it is. It's like the Jay-Z, the 2 Jay-Z sides. It's almost like red and blue pills. It's like you know what I mean?
Well, hip-hop, man, me and you go back 20-something years now. You were there before VladTV. You were there, you know, during the mixtape era. You were there when I was launching VladTV. And like I said in the beginning, you actually hooked me up with the guy that gave me the idea to even do video, do interviews.
Right.
QD3. So our story goes far, far back, man. And, you know, you've always been involved in dope shit. Like, since I've known you, you've always been doing, like, something really, really cool. Like from the moment I met you to even today, you know, you're working with Alchemist and, you know, involved in cool projects. Like you've always been like at the edge of culture. And you've stayed there.
Yep. Decade
after decade after decade, man. So when you reached out and said, hey, I want to do an interview finally, because I never even really asked you for one.
Yeah, and I think, but what you do is you definitely reach out to me
Yeah, about
if my name come up
Yeah.
or something, like fact check something or whatever.
Yeah, no, we've always kept in
So,
contact,
yeah,
man.
so
We've
it'll
always
be
kept,
like,
I think when the Lance on Rivera interview came out, I'm like, boom, here you go.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
dropped that in your lap.
It's funny because that was the last thing that when I text
Yeah,
you,
that
I
was the
seen
last thing I
that
hit
was
you
like the
about.
last thing you
Exactly.
sent me and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
So when you reached out, you're like, yo, let's do an interview. I said, man, absolutely. I got a Friday
Yeah.
free. Let's come in, chop it up, man. It's been a long interview. But man, for all the real Roc-A-Fella fans out there, this really pencils in a lot of blanks that have been there and a lot of misconceptions, because you really were there the whole entire time. You were not just in and out. It wasn't just a little era, like literally from high school, with your brother being the co-founder to really almost to the very end.
Yeah.
You were right there, man, and you were making the decisions in terms of what beats to choose. You were offering your input, and when you listen to these classic albums from Roc-A-Fella, whether it's the Jay-Z album or a State Property album or the Kanye albums, like your fingerprints are all over that, man.
Right.
You contributed to that.
Yeah.
And
even on the
unfortunately,
fashion
you didn't get royalties off it, which kind of shocks me.
Yeah.
That's the shocking part about this interview was like, damn, like, why didn't you get points off this? Because that's something you'd still be eating off of
for sure
to this day.
But I mean, I wrote a couple things. You know what I mean? Like I wrote the hook for Big Pimpin'.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I wrote a couple other hooks and stuff like that. So anything I got was off of that.
Wait, so Big Pimpin' on BLADs?
Yeah, Blades.
But there's no E in the... See what I'm saying? I've always wondered about that line.
For real, no, you're right.
BLADs, but Blade is BLADE.
Yeah. Yeah, I never noticed
Kind
that.
of slipped through.
Mm-hmm.
I used to always say Big Pimpin' with VLAD.
Yeah.
When I used to sing it to
I
myself.
didn't put that part in there, but I was like, I came up with the initial melody for it with the me and them beats. But I didn't. Blaze wasn't in my initial thing.
Oh, okay.
Because when I wrote hooks, it was basically because I liked the beat, and he might not have liked the beat.
So you
or he
wanted the
might
hook,
be
too.
like, you
want to convince him by having the hook there.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
he'd be like, come up with a hook for it. I'll do it. You know what I'm
Kanye,
saying?
I heard Kanye would do that a lot.
Yeah.
Give you beats with hooks already in there. Like,
yeah, for sure. He did that with Encore, was already in there and stuff like that. Never changed,
man.
a lot of records and stuff like that. And Ye, I get paid from him. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that's still, to this day, he never took me out of anything. He always looked out for me. He always made sure, you know what I'm saying, I stayed a part of it, even when he ain't had to. Like later on, he didn't have to keep us on way past a certain amount of albums, but we stayed on. Mm-hmm.
you stay with the winning team, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Last question before I let you go.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at all of the artists you've worked with, from Kanye to Jay to Cameron, Beanie Siegel, to later on with Drake, Lil Wayne, Nicki. Well, not so much Nicki since he didn't work with her directly, so we'll take her out of the equation.
Yeah.
Who is the most talented artist that you've ever worked with? Not just overall, the person, the business, just as artistically. Who is the most talented artist you've ever worked with?
I mean, it's easy to say Kanye.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I've always said that Jay may be a better rapper than Kanye in terms of like lyricism and putting words together. But artistically, like Kanye could do what Jay could do, but Jay can't do what Kanye does.
Yeah. Like Kanye just has he just know how to get people attention. He knows like his approach to things. It translates into other areas as well. So it's kind of like just his way of thinking. Like even like when it works against him, it still do what it was supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like he knew it was coming with it, but he still was willing to do it. You know what I mean? And I think that approach is like is different. So even that is tough to say because, like they say, genius is a process. It's not a talent. You know what I mean? And he's to me a proof of that because if it's a talent, it kind of stays in a place. Like, okay, I learned how to do this. Now I know how to do it. But for me and him to have a conversation about 2 to 3 records to some producers and him to be like, okay, cool, I got you. I see what you're doing. Here's Can't Be Life. Or for us to go see Tupac and he'd be like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be my, you know what I mean? So his process of things to me is genius level, but I don't know if that's really talent. You know what I mean? So if you want to really say talent for the talent's sake, it would have to be Jay.
Okay.
Because we know what his talent is. You know what I'm saying? And his talent being rapping, and for him to just like, no words, just go there, do it, probably in one take, and the ability he has to do it, because he's been doing it since he was a kid, and he started late in hip hop. So he had the 10,000 hours. He had that already going for him. And then he had a life that he lived that was worth rapping about. To where I feel like sometimes when rappers is talented, they might not have a life that they could articulate that people will really rap onto. So it's like they just random punchlines, random stuff, you know what I mean? But it's not like, oh, wow, he's spending money since 88 without rap. You know what I'm saying? And he's saying these things and using different punchlines within the context of his life, in the context of what he went through, is, to me, where I would say that, you know, Ye is a genius and Jay is probably the most talented, I say, if you ask me. You know what I mean? Just because of that, you know, and for him to do it over and over and over again, it's like whatever he does, he gets it. Like, it ain't no too many rappers that, you know, won't say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people in that field, you know, now you get people that was the most say it too. There's a lot of rappers, people now, but they're probably in that category we mentioned earlier. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, it makes sense to say stuff about Jay like that, like what you call it, nobody does it. And I'm a big fan of him too. Big Gip.
Okay.
He's like
You take shots at Jay?
yeah, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
But
missed
it's
that
like
part.
his thing, you know what I mean? But even like with but I think it come with the territory, man. When you been good that long and you constantly still do it, even when you want to just, you know, like to open up a concert, not a random Bruce picnic, but I never seen nobody do anything at the Bruce picnic that people talked about the next day.
Right.
That people talked about still to this day, where I think
Right.
Billboard had as the #1 rap song of the year so far.
Yeah, that freestyle.
Yeah.
No,
So
I get
it's
it, man.
like,
Jay is the oldest relevant rapper ever. If you think about, there's no one that has gotten to this age where when he drops, everyone still pays attention.
oh yeah, no, you definitely could say
You know,
that.
I mean, listen, Big Daddy Kane talking about dropping a new album. That's going to be cool. I'm going to listen to it, but it's not going to move the needle
Yeah,
like a
and
Jay-Z
it's been a minute, yeah.
album. It'll just
Yeah.
be, you know, his fans, you know, will listen to it, but a lot of his fans aren't around anymore. Jay-Z
Yeah.
still has current fans and still is right there.
Yeah, now to
And,
go through different eras of it, like you said, the 90s
yeah,
and
different
stuff.
generations.
Be on
like I
songs
said,
with Kane, to be on songs
Exactly,
with these
yeah.
guys. I remember when he was on that song with Kane, it was with Shaheem. It was Old Daddy Bastard, Big Daddy Kane, and one of the Show and Prove, you know. So it was like, and I remember that, like, you know, like it was yesterday, and I was like, Jay-Z, and it's like, yeah, you remember Jay-Z from, you know, at that point you had to say Hawaiian Sophie, and you know what I'm saying, you had to say jazz, you know what I mean? And then now it's like those things is so far in the bio that it's like, oh, Jay, yeah, you know, it's so much things. Now you got the concert coming up soon.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's 30 years of one year album, 25 years of the other album.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, even for a lot of that stuff to be going on, it's like that was like 20 years ago when they broke up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, deal with that then. You know what I'm saying? You would think that would happen closer to these things actually happen versus it happen now. That's why I feel like a lot of it is very algorithm based. You know what I mean? Because of what they get from it. because if they wasn't getting anything from it, attention or or more interviews,
wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, another art of dialogue, another whatever. Just more people calling in because they're in that same world where that's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I do it to a certain degree.
Yeah,
And
until you couldn't deal with it no more.
Built a whole business around it.
Right.
I mean, not just a J, but just
but you're not gonna let somebody come and talk about one thing over and over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're gonna be like, you're gonna be like, what's going on now? Like when you have your recurring guys on here, it's not about the same thing.
Keep saying the same story.
It's not the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what it is, hip hop, man. Truly an honor to have you sit down with me, man. Wish you all the best. Until next time.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Do it again, boy.